I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for a flexible agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a second from Ms. Miller, a second from Ms. Knighting. We will go to public comment on the adoption of the agenda. Seeing as there is none, we will close public comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. At this time, will everyone please rise as Officer John Myers leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. All right. At this time, we will go ahead and start with our special recognition. It's agenda item number 3. And we would like to invite our 2 student representatives up, Jocelyn and Prairie. We are giving them a scholarship of $500 for the semester that they served. So we would like to say thank you for your willingness to be with us, to listen to us, to work with us, and to offer your insights as a student. So thank you very much.
Do we have other trustees that want to make any statements for the student reps?
Pause for a brief second while we take pictures, correct?
Sounds good.
So trustees, if you would all come up. All right. Along with item number 3, special recognition is Mr. Alvarado. Would you like to?
Yes. So school safety is one of the most important aspects of the work that we do. Our kids cannot learn if they're not safe, if they don't feel safe, if their concerns are not being addressed. Part of that is having a very strong school resource officer. And John Meyer has spent, over a decade of time here in Douglas County School District and also serving Douglas County Sheriff's Office. So I want to call John Meyer up and Sheriff Coverly. Yeah. So, John, I just want to wish you farewell. Tell you good luck in retirement. Good luck in the next chapter of life. We appreciate everything you've done for Douglas County School District, everything you've done at Douglas High School. Every phone call that I have with you, safety is on your mind. Students are always first. I appreciate that about you. And there's countless hours that you put into your job above and beyond. And thank you very much for everything you've done for Douglas County School District. Yeah. Yes. Sheriff Coverly, is there anything you want to say? Yeah.
Continuing to speak to the board and everybody that's here. Deputy Meyer, I think, set a high bar for our school resource officer program within the sheriff's office. He's done an excellent job. He's represented the sheriff's office and myself impeccably. And I think one of the things that is important for you to understand is you guys learn, I think, a lot of the threats and stuff that may come into the school, but you don't know all of them, okay? And John was very attentive as they come in through various means, okay? We get information all sorts of ways, okay? And he immediately would run that up the chain of command, and we would come up with a plan on how to figure out whether or not the threat or the incident was something that was actionable. Okay, and almost always it turned out to be nothing. Okay, but there are a few times. Okay, you're probably aware of some, and I know that you're not aware of all of them. That there was a real threat to the school, a real risk. Okay, and we drop everything because it's very important, and we work it until we find that individual, and they are in jail. And John understood his role and took it very, very seriously. So I'm very proud of John for the hard work that he's done, for how he's represented the sheriff's office, and the service that he's performed to the students and the faculty and the staff at the school district. He's mostly at the high school, obviously, but he went everywhere and stuff. The most important thing that we can do with this program is the safety of the students. Okay, that's why we're there. There's other benefits, obviously, of a deputy being there, having the right deputy be there, that go untold. But the main purpose is to protect the students. Okay, and John understood that. A lot of the safety procedures and things that you are doing today were in collaboration, and John was big and part of implementing that stuff. So everything that he could think of, and that we could think of, and that you could think of, we were willing to try to do to make the schools as safe as we could make them. So we've got some big shoes to fill when he leaves. His retirement is very well earned. This is kind of a second retirement. He had a prior career on the East Coast, and so I'm happy for him. You may not see him much anymore. My daughter is married to his son, so but thank you very much. And your relationship with my office is awesome, and I know that will continue, and we are here and we will do whatever we have to help you to be able to do your job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I may, I'd like to weigh in here. I certainly echo the comments from the superintendent as well as the sheriff. I had the luxury of working side by side with John for many years as a reserve deputy sheriff working within the SRO program, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And he's leaving as a legacy, and I will miss him a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for your service and for all that you do for our schools, have done for our schools. Thank you.
We have one more comment
Oh,
from Mrs.
yes.
Dwyer, but John, your gift will be given to you off of a school property. So
I just want to thank you, John's. I worked with him a lot as the director of inclusive education, and then when I was the interim superintendent. And John was instrumental in helping us develop a behavior threat assessment team and board policy and manuals, and really a whole process on assessing threats in our schools, from elementary through beyond high school. And so we're just super appreciative for all the work that you've done. And just thank you. Thank you for everything. Always, safety is always first and foremost. John trained me early on in my career in Douglas County that when he calls, I answer the phone. And he would call me until I did. And so, but it was always for good reason, and it was good training. And I appreciate you and what you've done for our district and our whole family here in Douglas County. And we're going to miss you. And I did get him a couple cups of coffee on us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to continue to take things out of order today. And we will go to agenda item number 7, which is our LP insurance, health advisory committee self-funded versus fully funded insurance program. So we would welcome you up. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
We're going to welcome Nate Barnes from LP Insurance. I don't even know. Kerr. Sorry, it's Lloyd Barnes and Nate Kerr. I just combined the two. Nate Kerr. Sorry, Nate. Several months ago, we had met, we had talked about our insurance plan in a health advisory committee self-insured plan update. We had talked about self versus fully insured funding for our insurance plan. That evolved into a board workshop where LP Insurance came and presented to the board and cabinet all about what does it mean to be self-insured or fully insured. So basically, they've gone out and done a market analysis to determine what's the best route for our health insurance plan for our district. And so, Nate, you're up. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, I feel like all the other prior topics were a lot more exciting than insurance, but I appreciate you moving us up in the agenda. I'm Nate Kerr, again, with LP Insurance. I think I've met most all of you from our prior meetings. And as we left that meeting with the understanding that we'd be back here at this point in time to share with you any and all results of our marketing efforts. This year, we did go out and look at really at everything, fully insured, self-funded, different types of each of those, whether it's association health plans on the fully insured side or whether it's specialty programs on the self-funded side. So these are some of the results, and please feel free to ask questions as we get into it. So table of contents is pretty self-explanatory. We're going to start off with the fully insured piece, mainly because it is pretty straightforward. As we all may recall, fully insured is we literally just solicit proposals from all the insurance carriers who are licensed to do business in this area. So this first response to bid page is a list of the insurance companies that we solicited. Hometown Health, which is your current TPA, Aetna, Anthem, UMR is actually United Healthcare. Everyone probably is familiar with United Healthcare. That's their TPA arm, but that's United. Cigna, and Prominence. We only received quotes from two carriers, Hometown Health and Aetna, and that's the results are over there on the far right as to what the percentages came in compared to our current cost structure. The bottom four declined to quote, and that purely is because they felt they couldn't be competitive compared to where the current pricing was at. So very common. We see that in marketing efforts. Good news, bad news here. The good news is this validates the fact that we're not missing something big on the fully insured side. Bad news, of course, we wish we could have gotten something competitive. So next page. I like this exhibit just to show some of the cost trajectories, talking about revenue, that is the funding that we put towards the fund to pay for health insurance, and the cost, the total cost of the insurance. So the graph here, the total cost is the red line, and that's a rolling 12. And the blue line is the revenue. And you can see there for a period of time there between 21 and 24, we were chasing the claim cost side. Over time, and you can see if you go to the far right, over time, we have now gotten a lot closer to being stable, where we're basically where we need to be, which is break even, right? Ideally, we want a little reserve on hand, but the plan is funded about as good as it's been funded in quite some time, quite a few years. Just speaking to the numbers down at the bottom there, those are total cost. That's not revenue. That's the total cost. That is the cost for all the administrative pieces, your TPA, Hometown Health, your PBM, your stop loss, your network, all of that stuff, along with the claims cost. So that's what that number is at. I just did a 7.5-year average there just to kind of give us an idea. Obviously, you can see year over year, we had some really big increases and we had some decreases. So we kind of bounced around a little bit. 7.5-year average, though, is roughly 6% on average per year of what we're seeing the costs do, which actually, believe it or not, is pretty good for health insurance. Health insurance trend, market trend, or inflation, if you will, unique to healthcare, runs significantly hotter, right? We all know that health insurance costs go up every year at a very high trajectory. So that number, 8.7, well, you can see throughout the time, basically the cost ranges anywhere from 7 to 9.5 million roughly in total cost. I mention that because if we turn the page, this is a demonstration of the current funding levels. We call it a premium equivalent, right? That is basically what you charge yourself as your own insurance company. That is the first two columns here for each of the plans. The next two columns are, to this point, we obviously needed something to compare to, right? How do we know if what's being proposed is any good? So in order to do that, we had to create and go through our rate projection process, which we do for the district every year. We just generally do it later in the year, but we did one earlier. So at least we had a point in time that we could compare with what all the other carriers were looking at. I put the Hometown Health fully insured there because that really was the closest to and most competitive from a fully insured perspective, which makes sense because they're your TPA, so they've seen your claims. They know how you run. And again, good news, bad news. Obviously not competitive at 11%, but compared to our projection, which is running at about 8%, is what we're projecting the costs increase will be next year. That seems to validate, I think, the conversations we had last time we got together, right? The difference between fully insured and self-funded really are premium tax, carrier overhead, and profit, right? Generally 3 to 5 points. So we're right in there. Any questions?
Yes, actually, I have a question here. On this slide, it says retirees with Medicare rates, retirees only. Do we have retirees on our plan?
Yes.
How many do we have? Off the top of your head, do you know?
Less than 100.
Less than 100? Okay. And maybe you can gather the information, but how much are we paying out on our retirees versus our employees?
For their claims or?
Yes.
Fine.
Is that something that you could look up and get to me later? That's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we absolutely can get that breakout.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, turning the page. Obviously, I'm sure as everyone knows, the current self-funded plan is self-funded for medical and prescription drug, but also dental. Your dental plan is also self-funded. So, of course, we had to look at fully insured dental options as well. The most competitive proposal we received was from Aetna. So we showed it just so you can see at least what the best alternative is out there. Fairly close, within about 8% of the current dental cost. Not really competitive, understanding that your dental plan actually runs pretty well. Everything's blended together. Medical, RX, dental's all in one bucket, but the dental on its own runs fairly well and consistent. So that makes sense that we didn't get any insured options. Dental is actually the one coverage that most employers start with from a self-funding perspective. If they're fully insured, the first step a lot of times is dental because it's less risky, smaller numbers. So being self-funded on dental is, I guess, is my point, is absolutely makes sense for an employer your size. Any questions on the fully insured piece? Okay. We'll turn the slides to the self-funded components. So again, as a self-funded plan, you're essentially are your own insurance company. However, you still have all the same needs that an insurance carrier would provide. You still need someone to administer your plan document. That's a TPA, third-party administrator. You still need someone to administer your prescription drug component, your formulary, your list of drugs. That's your prescription benefit manager. You need a list of doctors, a network, right? So this is an attempt to look at all of those fixed cost component, right? We have our costs essentially fall into two buckets. We have fixed costs. That's the cost for administration, which is what we're going to go over here. And we have our claims cost, which makes up the vast majority of overall costs, right? So we're not going to be talking claim cost today. We're talking all those administrative pieces we went out and shopped. Okay. So this is a list of administrators that we went to. When you're talking TPAs, when you're looking at TPAs, the saying in our industry is network drives. The network drives. And what we mean by that is not all TPAs have access to all networks. So again, for an example, if you think about it, Anthem's a perfect example. We're all familiar with Anthem as an insurance company. They obviously have a network, a list of providers. Anthem is not amenable to renting or leasing their network. Anthem says, if you want our network, we have to do everything. You have to make us your TPA, your PBM, everything, right? So there's very few TPAs that you can work with that would allow you access to Anthem. Same thing with United. Same thing with Aetna. Cigna is by far the most flexible. Cigna will let you bolt on to almost any TPA. So, long-winded response to explain why this list isn't significantly larger, because it actually could be. There are almost countless third-party administrators out there around the country. These are the ones by far most common in our region, not just Northern Nevada, but the West Coast region. And all of them obviously have viable network combinations that would work. So that's the reason for this list. Very similar to the fully insured, we did receive a few quotes that were at least competitive or in the ballpark. We received 3 that were not at all, and then 3 declined altogether, again for that same reason. They came out basically and said, well, your current fee structure can't get anywhere near it. Hometown Health, who's your current TPA, you can see there. We were able to negotiate with them, including them in part of this process, obviously, and they provided some concessions. So, not huge dollars, but it matters. It makes a difference. This is more just a high look executive summary at what the total administrative costs are for all of the components. Again, just looking at Hometown, Anthem, and Aetna, because those are really the only 3 that came with anything that is even worth considering. Just some bullet points here under each to give you an idea of, and let me back up just to clarify, and I know it says it there, but it's kind of granular on this slide. That's the annual fixed cost amount for all administrative services. So annual, that's the annual amount. To give you some perspective on that, the plan runs, what did we say, right? Anywhere from 7 to 9.5 million. So you can see how the fixed costs really make up a pretty small piece of the overall spend. But it's significant. I mean, $300,000 is $300,000. So it's significant. It's worthwhile looking at. Just some bullet points here. Network, obviously. Some things to consider if you're looking at alternative TPAs. The disruption to employees, right? We like to talk about cost a lot and look at cost in the financials, but there's also a component of the experience for members. And network disruption or provider disruption is probably the most significant, right? They have to change their doctors. They can't go to certain facilities. They lose certain specialists, whatever it may be. The network match between these 3 is very close. So that's what those numbers are. 100% match, obviously, for Hometown Health because they're the current network. So, of course, that's going to be 100. Anthem is 98% and Aetna is at 99%. So all very close. Again, all viable networks, which is what we tried to put together from a solicitation perspective. And then I won't go through all of these lines. I think are fairly self-explanatory. I did put some high-level notes down at the bottom in those boxes there around some of the unique services or unique provisions that these vendors put in their proposal. One that may catch your eye under Anthem, down at the bottom there, it says waived admin fees for 6 months. Seems very appealing, which is still some potentially significant money, but they're obviously going to get it back the very next year, starting the very next year. So wanted to mention it because they put that in their proposal, but also speak to it. Same thing with Aetna. Aetna provided a 1-month premium holiday. Translation, your first month, you don't have to pay any administrative fees for Aetna. As you can imagine, it's what it sounds like. They're trying to get you in the door, right? So not uncommon for us to see those types of things. Question?
So this is our current fixed costs. What are our current fixed costs now? Is that just our employees running our benefits plan then? in regards to this? Like, I'm just trying to figure out so we can compare as close to apples type situation.
Yeah, the fixed costs are just slightly higher than the 315,000, right? Because Hometown came in with a whatever 2.8 concession.
We currently have Hometown Health doing this for us, correct?
Correct.
So the fixed cost now is about, we already have them doing this.
2.8%. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's just under 325,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to keep track of fixed versus claims. There's a lot of numbers floating around, so please ask questions. Next page, turn. This is a breakout of that big number. The prior page is the executive summary, just trying to annualize it, give you a high level. This is drilled down, a lot more granular to see the cost category there, the first column, just to give you an idea of what types of fixed cost services, administrative services, are the core components of a self-funded plan, to kind of give you an idea of how these carriers spread out their cost. So all fairly straightforward. All of them are very similar in the way they're structured, with maybe the exception being utilization case management. Each vendor has their own flavors, which was listed actually on the prior slide. Anthem has Smart Shopper. Aetna has a care coordination program. They're all utilization management, utilization review, disease management assistance that they have behind the scenes to help you manage cost. And then the transparency tool is another one that comes in quite a few different flavors. Really all that is a price shopping tool. Turning the page, back to my comment earlier of disruption is always a consideration. In addition to disruption, which is pretty self-explanatory, and we already went over those numbers, that's the first number in each of these columns, 100%, 98, 99. The second number is an attempt to assess the claims cost piece, right? I talked about claims cost making up the vast majority of the overall cost. Well, how does Anthem's contract compare to Aetna's contract? Right? We're talking about $8.5 million. That's a lot, even if you can just get a little. Again, it's all dependent upon utilization, which we don't know is going to be exactly, right? So our best attempt to at least try and gauge of what those potential differences might be is we ask them, we give them a whole list of claims, 2 years of claims, with all of the identifiable information, and ask them to identify what the average discount is. Run these claims through your system and tell us roughly what your approximate discount would look like. It's never perfect. What we generally see, and I'm glad we see it here, is it's almost always within 2 to 3 points. So, again, these numbers don't translate exactly. This is, again, just to help assess, engage, make sure we're checking that box, right? If you move to Aetna, there's no guarantee you're going to save 2% of your total claims costs next year, is my point. Okay. The next slide is one of the core components of all proposals from administrators, which is the performance guarantees. Every vendor has them, and they're all very similar in nature. I really only included it because, interestingly enough, Douglas School District was one of the few accounts who actually had significant performance guarantees that came back to the plan, when I think we all remember Hometown Health had some, we'll call it bumps. They were struggling with some of their customer service hold times and their turnaround times and their processing times. And so the performance guarantees actually came into play then, and there was a significant amount of revenue that came back to the plan that they had to refund. That's really one of the only times, actually, I've seen 2 times in 20 years where performance guarantees got missed by that wide of a margin. So, but it does happen. So that's why I included a slide. Any questions on any of this stuff? I live in the business of acronyms, so I understand that it's so acronym heavy. Turning the page, just a high-level attempt to review some of the tools and reporting components for each of the vendors. Again, very similar in the services that they provide. They've all got their own twist and flavor on the services and tools that they provide. One thing, a phrase that I tend to use a lot in the insurance committee is carriers and TPAs, for that matter, generally come in two flavors. You have high tech and you have high touch, right? And what I mean by that is the high tech are the big nationals, Anthem, Aetna, United, Cigna. They have a lot of bells and whistles, resources, websites, if you will, right? But fairly low touch. If you need help with something, you got to call 1-800 call center, right? Hometown Health is what I would put in the high touch. Maybe don't have all the fancy bells and whistles and financial size and network leverage that some of the big guys have, but they're here and they're on the ground and they pick up the phone to help you work through things when inevitably things go wrong. Turning the page. Every year, and again, we will rerun this exercise when we redo our budget rate projection for you sometime in the early fall. But this is an attempt as your own insurance company to give you some options of potential plan changes. I think I mentioned in our last presentation, generally speaking, there's two levers you can pull, right, to make an impact in the cost. One is contributions, funding. How much does the district put in and how much do you charge employees? And the other was benefits. Deductibles. Obviously, you increase the deductible, you increase the cost share, you increase the copays, the cost comes down, right? So those are generally the two levers you can pull. This is an attempt to at least give you some options within the benefit space to see what potentially these changes might do. These are actual numbers from your most recent 12 months. So this is Douglas County School District claims. It's really pretty straightforward math. We dive deep into the data, but essentially identify how many people hit their deductible at what level and then compare it to what we're talking about. And that'll give you a rough approximate savings. So again, I call it the a la carte menu. This is generally the a la carte benefit change menu that we provide every year, and we'll update this as we get into the fall. With the idea being that we want to provide the insurance committee options, right? To just show up and say, hey, we think your costs are going up 7% next year, so you need to raise your revenue 7%. See you later. We obviously want to provide a little bit more than that, right? So at least provide some options of potentially ways to impact that cost. And that's it for the presentation. I would say the main takeaway, I think it's obviously pretty obvious here that we didn't get anything from the market. And back to my original comment, good news, bad news. The takeaway, I guess the positive glass half full way I'd look at at least this process, the outcome, is that at least validates where we're at in the current structure that you're at. I made comments to the insurance committee when we met that this organization, we feel, has done actually a very good job over time trying to manage these costs. This stuff is volatile and it's very expensive. And being your own insurance company is not easy. It takes a lot of involvement, and over time, I think this organization has gotten the plan back to a point where it's at least getting more sustainable, right? There were a few years there where we were a little concerned with how the performance of the plan was going. So takeaway, at least this validates where we're at. We're not missing anything out there. There's no better deal or pile of money out there that we aren't aware of. Questions?
Mr. Brady?
The 7-year trend line shows the 6.2% increase year over year. How is that captured in premiums with the district? Maybe you can answer that. Is there cost sharing? Is it negotiated? What does that look like?
That may be a better question for Leanne Cares, who's been part of the Health Care Advisory Committee for a long period of time.
Yeah.
There was a period of time that there were hardly any changes made to our plan. We kind of captured that data a few years ago and have started trying to right the ship. So it's kind of a balancing act. Like Nate often says the claims are the claims are the claims. There is nothing we can do about the claims. So we have to try and offset that through revenue by increasing what we contribute for our employees, what employees pay for dependents, co-payments, co-insurance, deductibles. That's where the revenue is going to come from. I don't know if that answers appropriately what you're looking for.
So the Health Advisory Committee, dedicated group of people, meets monthly, 10 times a year, and really works hard on making those decisions that are informed by LP Insurance. So LP Insurance brings us that, basically the last slide that you saw. They give us options. We talk through those options as a committee and we make changes. We try to make small changes every year. As Leanne said, we went about 6 or 8 years without making any changes to the plan at all because our plan was so healthy. Should we have made changes? Maybe small ones every single year, maybe, but the committee felt like the plan was healthy. We at one point had $11.5 million underspend in our district. And so we weren't worried about the health of the plan. The last several years, we've been worried about the health of the plan. So we've been making small changes every year to premiums and copays and deductibles.
So you have the actual premium increase. Is it negotiated with the employees, or is it a direct cost that they share?
So we have representation on the committee of all of the employee groups. So we have classified, bus driver, certified, administrator, and district representation on the committee. And we make those decisions together as a committee, and we make those recommendations to the board. And then the board votes on those recommendations, or votes based on the recommendations and information that we bring to you. So there are parts, the insurance plan is included in every negotiated agreement that we have as part of the benefits package. Does that help?
Is there a cost sharing here, a direct cost sharing that is not negotiated? For example, it goes up, 6%. Is that cost carried by the employee, or is it shared with the employee in the district?
Yeah, that's a negotiated item.
And both, I would say both.
Negotiated irrespective of need then, if the plan's not working well?
Well, the data shows here that our revenue has dipped above or rose above our expenditures. So at this point, our plan is working. That's exactly what Nate reported here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ideally, in a perfect world, your revenue and your costs are 1 for 1, right? I'm not trying to make money on this plan. It's not a for-profit plan. We're just trying to make sure that whatever the costs are next year, we can pay for, and we at least have budgeted for it. Back to Jeannie's comments years ago, without getting into too much detail, there was a decision made by the organization to utilize some of the reserves, right? If we say your cost is going to go up 8% next year, there's a chance it could actually go up 10, or it could only go up 3, right? It's not perfect. So in the year when you have 3, well, you've budgeted a lot of money and you have an excess reserve account. Your ending fund balance is significant. And there was one point in time we had a significant ending fund balance here. And for a variety of reasons, it was the decision was to utilize those reserves to offset some of these cost increases, right? Which is fine. Organizations do that. You got to be a little tactful in how you do that. I won't run down too many rabbit holes there, but back to my comment, ideally, revenue and costs match 1 for 1. And every year we do our best to try and get those to line up as close as we can. Right? If we think your costs are going to go up 7%, we work with the insurance committee between benefit changes and funding from the district, funding from employees, to try and figure out how we can bring that revenue up to where that projected cost line is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Knighting?
And maybe it would be helpful for last year if you just explained how many percentage we had to recapture and how much the district put in as opposed to how much was put in percentage wise by the plan change.
Was it 15%? I think it was a 15, Jeannie, remember 15% increase for the district funding, right?
You guys.
I think we came out with 17 is right around where it started. I think we landed or somewhere around 15, and then through a combination of district funding and increasing rates and plan changes, we were able to get to a point where I don't know where we were pretty close. to hitting that number.
You know what the breakdown was as opposed to how much the district put in, as opposed to how much percentage the plan change was to reach that 15%?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Okay.
We can, I'm sure, track it down.
Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Your microphone's still on. That's why I was.
Huh?
You said your microphone is still on, so I thought maybe you had a question. Any other questions? I have a question. How many employees / employee families do we have on our plan?
Year to date this year, the average employee count is 714.
Okay.
And the total number of dependents, that's belly buttons, total belly buttons of dependents is averaging 317.
Okay. And I, as we talk about health plans and whatnot, and our district is, as we know, shrinking, and we will have to continue to right size. At what point per employee that we continue to put in, at what number should we start saying, okay, we can no longer be self-funded? It doesn't make sense. Would you have a number?
That's entirely up to the district,
Right.
with what's in your budget. Obviously, we're going to give you the numbers. We'll give you here's what we think your costs are going to be next year. Here's where your funding is. It's up to you whether you can meet that or whether you're at a point where it's like we can't do anything else more, and then we have to come up with alternative ideas of how can we get the cost down then, right? Whether it's plan design changes. There's always creative cost containment programs that are popping up. We've already utilized actually quite a few of them through the PBM, our PBM Vital One. They had a lot of cost containment programs around prescription drugs specifically that we pulled the trigger on. The insurance committee organization pulled the trigger on and actually did create some savings back to the plan. So we're always on the lookout for those types of things. We always bring those things to the committee. But as far as what number's too big, that's each organization would need to come up with that number on their own. I will tell you, you're running roughly $980 per employee per month. That's the composite cost. It's the way that we measure cost of the plan. That is well within, maybe even a little lower than most of our public entity plans. So I don't know if that helps. You're not significantly higher or bigger cost-wise per capita than any other public employer in the area.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. No, I just had a question. So on the agenda, and maybe I should have thought, sorry, my brain is really fried. It says for possible action. What is it that we're possibly actioning?
I think we're deciding whether we want to continue with the plan that we have, if we want to switch to a different self-funded plan, or if we want to go fully funded.
Okay.
Yeah. The requested action is to approve the self-insured health insurance model and
Right,
Hometown
okay.
Health as the third-party administrator for 2027 plan year.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, then we will go to public comment and then come back. So to the board. So if you guys would step off to the side in case we have some more questions for you in just a moment. All right, we will open public comment at this time for this agenda item. All right, seeing as we have none, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board for further discussion, questions, and possible motion.
I just feel that based on the numbers that they've presented to us, that we would just stay with what we currently have. They even came down a little bit for us. It doesn't disrupt our employees for their networks, and doesn't appear to be savings to go to the fully funded.
Ms. Jackson?
I completely agree with that. I think that they are the ones that have the knowledge. And if this is what they're suggesting, I think that's what we go with. I just want to make the comment that they also told us about what they expect the increase to be in the next year. with the financial situation we're in, we don't have more money to be putting into that. It looks good that we have finally got to where they're about the same. We need to make sure that continues. And I think we need to push for our health advisory committee to make sure they find a way to get the money we need into the plan to offset the increase in costs and not take anything out of our general fund at this point. And so I know in the memo, it had some different ideas of things that they could do by either increasing a deductible or change, making a little change to it. But I think we need to have the health advisory committee find a way to do that so that our general fund will not be affected by health insurance for the next year.
Mr. Brady?
Heard for a motion.
Sure.
I would move to approve the health insurance model and administrative partner for the 2027 plan year based on the RFP evaluation results and authorize management to execute the necessary contracts.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Zinke. Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Mr. Zinke. Any further discussion?
Just that do we need to add and direct the Health Advisory Committee to make the changes in the plan so it does not come out of the general fund?
It's my understanding that that's something we'll do later when we get the numbers, right? So this is just to say, hey, let's stick to the self-insurance plan to give LP Insurance a chance to get the appropriate information.
All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Unanimously. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Nate.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Leanne.
All right, at this time, we will go to public comment, and this is for anything not on the agenda.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 2 DCSD students and 1 graduate. This is on the agenda, the superintendent reports, which is not, it was discussion only, so I'm hoping that this is an appropriate time to be able to comment on it. It's about the enrollment report. Just want to.
So that's an informational item.
Yeah, it's in your superintendent report.
It's actually another item after my report.
Yeah, either way, it's discussion only.
Yeah. You're welcome to
Is
make
that okay?
comment. Yes.
That's fine.
Adrian Sawyer for the record. I reviewed the district monthly enrollment for 25-26, and a few numbers stand out. I do not dispute that enrollment is declining across the state. However, the district ended the year with the exact same enrollment it started with, 475 students in August and 445 students in June. The data also shows that the enrollment trends are not uniform across the district. Minden Elementary gained 30 students, Jacks Valley gained 18, while Douglas High lost 102 students, with smaller declines at Powalloo and Gardnerville. These school level trends matter because they tell a more nuanced story than simple narrative of district-wide enrollment declined. I would also like clarification regarding the enrollment data presented at the May 19th CLGF meeting. At that meeting, it was stated that DCSD had experienced 429 student withdrawals during the school year, including 220 students who reportedly left for homeschooling. However, the district enrollment report shows no net enrollment loss between August and June. Both statements could be true, but they require additional context. If 426 students withdrew, how many students enrolled during that same period? How many withdrawals were offset by new students moving into the district? Are we discussing gross withdrawals, net enrollment changes, weighted enrollment, or some other measure? These distinctions are important because enrollment data is being used to support significant budget, staffing, and facility decisions. The public should not have to reconcile reports showing stable enrollment with statements that hundreds of students have left the district. Before major decisions are made, the community deserves clear, consistent, and transparent explanation of the data being presented. The details matter. Those details should drive informed decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time. We will be taking agenda item number 4, a closed session at this time. So we will return. All right, we are back from closed session where we had an update on our union negotiations. So at this time, we will go ahead and go to agenda item number 9. Sure, we can do 10 first. We can go to agenda item number 10. Yes. I try to be amenable.
Right. Jeannie Dwyer for the record.
Christine Ensign.
I am the lead negotiator for DCSD, and Christine is the lead negotiator for the DCPEA. We have prepared a presentation for you today. We prepared this jointly. This is the same presentation we presented to you in December. We just amended it to show the additions that were made through our continued negotiations since then. So nothing changed with the proposed contract that we brought to you in December as far as PERS increase or the SB 500. The SB 500, please note, the SB 500 will look different next year. The percent will quite possibly increase just because of the elimination of positions that we've had. And then again, the health insurance is the same as it's been since January. And I don't mean to take over. You speak up if I, okay. Proposed contract. So we are looking at a 1 year only work day reduction of 5 days. So 185 days to 180 days. And that equates to approximately $60 to $100 less per paycheck throughout the year. The DCPEA negotiations team, to include Daniel Hayden, Michelle Baugh, Christine Ensign. They are quite the dream team. They work very well together. Thank you. I actually combined Daniel and Michelle's names today. Anyways, they are wonderful. They have all the spreadsheets. They do all the calculations. They work closely with Sue Estes in the business services office to make sure that they have the right calculations and the right numbers. And they really work diligently to make sure that they can inform their employees of what does this mean specifically. And so they were able to work that out. So the next thing is the work year adjustment, adjusted from July 1 to June 30th to align with the contract, to align the contract year with the fiscal year. And so what that means is a double payment in July. So our employees will receive 4 paychecks in July. First, two paychecks July 15th and 2 paychecks July 31st. The one set of those paychecks will be the end of their contract for the 25-26 school year. The other set of paychecks will be the beginning of their contract for the 26-27 school year. Do you have any questions? Okay. And so you can see there what that looks like, approximately a range of, it will feel like extra, but they really are just being paid for their contracts the same. The contracts are just adjusted by a month. So this year when our employees, our certified employees retire, their retirement date is July 31st. Next year when they retire, their retirement date will be June 30th. I think that's it.
Just note, what's in blue is new. So if you wanted to be able to, the changes are all in blue.
Okay, so we agree to reconvene. So we are actually due to restart negotiations or reconvene negotiations to renegotiate the next contract on or about February 1st of 2027. So, but in the contract, we wanted to, in the event that our December amendment or our budget shows that we have a 4% ending fund balance and a 2% reserve, we would like to reopen negotiations to talk about salary increases basically at that time, or start negotiating salaries. as we're able. So we did add that language. There were no changes to our leave of absence. We left everything the way it was. Reduction in force, same. We left the wording the way that it was, that what we had negotiated previously. Article 10, everything stayed the same as what we had brought to you before in the tentative agreement. Article 10. Okay, so the MOU was for the 25-26 school year. I would like to note the MOU will not be in effect for the 26-27 school year because we will not have those 3 days to try to make up within the calendar. And so these are just some calculations. Again, the team is wonderful and they work very closely with Sue and myself and Frankie to try to make sure that we have the right numbers. That is something that we need to work on as teams, as reporting the same numbers and using the same numbers and understanding how our groups break down in our budget, basically. And so you can see what our projected cost savings, and just there is a discrepancy between the board memo and this slide, and that is because the cost savings I projected were for all certified employees for the reduction of 5 days, minus the step and column increase. PERS increase. And the this one includes health insurance. Oh, that's it. Oh, we're all done. Yay. We're all done. Are we? Are we all done? Not yet. We are almost all done.
I was going to say,
It
you're not
all
done
depends
yet.
on you.
We'll get there.
What questions do you have?
Does anyone have any questions for them? I don't have any questions. I don't think we have any questions. So
I
okay,
do have
Ms.
one
Miller?
question. I'm sorry. Why was it that the contract was always starting after the fiscal year? Do we know why, or it just had always been that way?
It's been that way for many years. It's because school starts in August. And so contracts would start August 1st through July 31st.
Okay. Even though
that's
our
why.
fiscal year is July 1
Mhm.
through 6/30.
Mhm.
Okay. I just was wondering, obviously this
Mhm.
is a little bit newer, so I was just trying to figure that one out.
Anything else? All right, then we'll go to public comment
Thank you.
and then bring it back to the board. All right, we have one public comment online.
Hi, this is Jeremy Height, teacher for the record. I'm calling because a few years back when we went through a round of negotiations, teachers got a significant pay raise. And it was a nice percentage, and this board voted to approve it. And then they voted to give all bargaining groups that same percentage of raise. That was very nice. Might have been short-sighted at the time, but it was all of us in this together. Now, as we face budget cuts, we see teachers taking a 2.7% cut. We see bus drivers potentially taking a higher percentage, while administrators and cabinet level people only take a 1 percentage pay cut or less. And I'm wondering why this board and this district are arguing that administrators and superintendents and cabinets deserve less of a pay cut than our teachers, our interpreters, our bus drivers, our secretaries. And please, if Ms. Dwyer can go through the percentages for each bargaining group, that would be fantastic. So you guys can be aware of the exact amount you're voting for percentage-wise for each group. When we got this pay raise as teachers, we didn't say, oh, well, we got a $6,000 pay raise. That's what administrators should get as well. We gave everybody the same percentage. And now when we're doing pay cuts, we're separating everyone out unevenly and giving teachers a much higher pay cut than we are some other district positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
a microphone. I don't need a mic, to be clear. Karen Lamb, I'm a teacher for the record. I'm also the DCPA president. I first want to start by saying thank you to that negotiations team back there. They've actually negotiated for 14 months tirelessly. They've done a lot. They're also who helped find the pay discrepancy when our pay schedule was wrong and things like that. So they've done a lot to really right some things. And I'm very excited moving forward that we can continue to right some things and make sure communication is clear. I just want to kind of echo what Jeremy Height said, that you can look at the percentages and they are that, but then I'm just going to speak only for certified staff. And I'm going to say that a 5-day reduction does not reduce their workload. So every bargaining unit is different. Everyone works hard in our district. But specifically, we're not then asking teachers to teach less content. We're not telling them to assign less work. We're not telling, IEPs and we can't stop doing those things. Nothing of their workload changes. And so this is the other part for our certified staff, that just not coming to school one day does not mean they won't be working. And so I challenge us because of that, and on behalf of our certified bargaining unit, that we have to right this fiscal wrong and be able to pay teachers and all certified staff, and frankly, all DCSC employees what they deserve to be able to have a livable wage in Douglas County. So.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, or a motion?
I would just comment quickly about that, of just that what was decided in all the negotiations was cut days. And so that is going to be a different percent for each group, but it was the amount of days that were cut of work for each group that was the same. And that was through the negotiations, that was what's decided. And so I think we need to make sure we look at it that way, because it wasn't a percentage of pay that was in the or that was accepted as the negotiations. And so that would have been the same thing. That would have been uniform for all groups if that would have been the decision made. But since we decided on days, that's going to be a different percent for each group.
Just a second. Have our employees gotten a pay cut other than the 5 days that they will not be working and not being paid next year?
It's just the 5 days. SB $500 will increase. We haven't calculated what percentage that will be at, but with less certified employees, that percentage will go up.
Okay, because I've received emails and then the public comment is that that there has been pay cuts, and I was under the impression that we have not done any pay cuts, and they're getting their step and column, correct?
Yeah. The board did increase the dependent rate. So what employees with families experience is increased costs for healthcare.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Brady.
I would move.
Can you put your microphone closer? It's just hard for people online to hear. So
that's true. I need to teach me how to use this. I would move approval of the tentative agreement as presented for collective bargaining between the district and Douglas County Professional Association, Education Association, DCPEA.
I have a motion from Mr. Brady. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Ms. Knighting. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I may make a comment.
Yes.
To Ms. Lamb, it's critically important that we form a coalition between all elements that are being victimized by the legislature. We met with the Tahoe Chamber today and discussed the pupil-centered funding plan, and we realized that we have some work cut out for us at the legislature. And this is where I think we need to join forces and make sure that we're heard at the legislature. And I think it's a real opportunity for us to work together.
Yeah, nod and smile. Yes.
All right. We will go on to agenda item number 9 then. All right. Our tentative agreement with our Speaking is hard today. Thank you. Our certified import classified. We just did certified. Oh, okay. I've had a migraine for a week, so my brain is fried. So, Ms. Dwyer.
Yes, so this is with our Douglas County support staff organization. So our classified employees, and remember, our classified employees represent our staff that are not certificated. They work anywhere from student contact days to 260 days. That's it. You have to retire now. They work anywhere from 180 days to 260 days. So they're 9, 10, 11, and 12-month employees. And so this agreement and the 5 days looks a little different. So we do have classified employees that were cut 3 days this year. So that could be potentially where someone feels that their salary was cut 3 days because our agreement states that the employees that work student contact days work the calendar. And so our calendar this year was 182 days. And so those staff were only paid for 182 days. Okay. And so with the agreement of the 5 days by the classified unit, those employees would not be cut an additional 5 days next year. They would only come down to the 2 days because we would have 180 school days. And so they would then only take a 2-day cut. But all of our other employees that work 210, 220, 260 will take a 5-day cut in days. And they agreed to that. And then they also agreed to aligning the calendar the same, aligning the contract to the calendar, to the fiscal year. Ooh, aligning the contract to the fiscal year, not the calendar or the days. And again, this agreement is for 2 years. This agreement, it takes effect July 1st of 2025 and through June 30th of 2027. And so we will reopen negotiations on or about February 1st of 2027 to renegotiate a new contract for the classified employees. And I think that is all. The fiscal impact, the savings to our district for this agreement would be approximately $144,000.
Any questions?
And that included benefits, this 144, or no benefits? No benefit.
That's salaries.
Salaries. Sorry.
That's okay. Salaries.
I think we've
contract.
talked about so many different numbers.
Yes. Benefits is an additional package. Benefits are not calculated by days. Okay. So we wouldn't be saving in benefits. We'd be saving in salaries.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, then we'll open it up for public comment at this time. Seeing as there is none, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion, questions, and possible motion. Okay. Mr. Brady.
I would move approval of, if there are no questions, move approval of a tentative agreement for collective bargaining between the district and Douglas County Support Staff Organization, DCSSO.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Brady and a second by Mr. Zinke. Any further discussion? Yes, we did. There was none. Thank you for making sure I'm staying on track here. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, so we will jump back into our agenda. Item number 5, our consent items. Would anyone like to pull anything from the consent?
I don't want to pull something, but I have questions.
Okay.
In regards to the personnel report, it seems like the past 2 months we've had maybe a couple of little errors, not errors, but things that were missed. Just how we transfer employees from one location to another. The board approves that, and then a couple of months later, that same employee is transferring from the original location to a new location, or that with reorganizations, employees are left off. So I just want to find out how we can do better to rectify those, because I know of that happening at 2 schools. I don't know if it's happening at other schools. Does that make sense?
I'm going to try. We have a process for this. So we have an employee who tracks all classified employees and an employee who tracks all certified employees in HR. They prepare that personnel report together, and then they share it with Ms. Bedart prior to posting. And so there are times that we don't have information prior to posting, and things change very rapidly. And so if there's an update to the personnel report, we'll try to put a bunch in that as many people as we can that have happened in the past 4 days onto that report. So those are changes that you'll see. That's why you will see revised reports. Also, we have had employees have put in for a transfer to one site, and then they were assigned to that site, and we put them on the personnel report as going to that site, and then they later changed their mind and asked if they could go back to their spot, which was open. And so we put them on the personnel report again. We allowed them to go back. So things like that do happen. We have people on the personnel report that we have involuntarily transferred to a site, and then we had to close that position because we didn't have enrollment. And so that position goes to an eliminated position, and then they get moved to another site. We've had that happen. We also have instances where of employees that maybe or open positions or hiring or people who've retired or resigned. And you may know of those people, but they haven't followed the process yet in HR. So we have a process that they have to follow before we can put them on the personnel report. Because when we put them on the personnel report, we're putting them on there by position control number, and we have to make sure if we are continuing that position control number or if we are eliminating that position control number. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I would just ask you to reach out to me if you have questions about that personnel report as it comes out to you.
Any other questions? Ms. Jackson?
We'll stick with the personnel report for the moment because I had some questions too. I was very surprised to see so many new hires on this. And so I would I have 2 questions. First of all, I want to know how many people in the certified and classified were RIFed? Do we have any that were RIFed through the process that we've been going through in consolidating schools and everything? Because it seems weird to me if we're riffing people and now we're hiring people. So I'd kind of like some clarification on that. And then just if you can assure me that these are positions that are already part of our next budget and have already been looked at to make sure that they are necessary and required.
That's a great question, Trustee Jackson. And so we have not implemented a certified RIF. That has not been an agenda action item for the board. We've implemented administrative RIFs, classified and classified management RIFs that they came to board for approval. The positions that you see on this personnel report are already built within our budget. We reported to the legislature in May that we had 336 certified employees, but we also had 16 vacancies on the certified side of the house. On the classified side, we reported having 319 positions in classified, and we had 18 vacancies at that point when we reported. And the district has had about a 4% vacancy rate. So that means we're retaining about 95 to 96% of our employees. And if there's anything else you want to add to that.
We did have 2 certified employee RIFs due to the consolidation. Those 2 employees were offered jobs recently back in our district and they declined. So We did offer
Classified.
those
yeah.
classified positions. We offered, they were secretary positions. And we called those people, they were first on our callback list, per the negotiated agreement, and they declined employment with us. All of those positions that you see are new hires are all budgeted open positions, and we need those. So certified, those are teaching positions in classrooms that are vacant. And they're all kindergarten, first grade, fifth grade, middle school, high school, pre-K. So that's the other thing. We were given 3, maybe 4 Nevada Ready pre-K programs. Well, that included a teacher and a para. So those were 2 new staff members per program. Those are grant funded though, so they're not coming out of the general fund. So those are the things that you will see, why you are seeing so many new hires. And you will see we list those by position control number. So many of those are just replacing a person who had that position control number. It's a position that's being replaced. They're not new position control numbers. In some cases there are. We had to give a teacher to CVMS, a social studies teacher, because their ratios, their class sizes were approaching 34-1. And we needed to make a decision that we can't have 34-1 middle schoolers. I mean, that really that's not good practice, right? So we did add a position to CVMS within the last couple weeks.
Yeah, last piece of information for the board. There are 3 additional eliminated positions here, and you'll see those position control numbers on page 2 at the very top of page 2.
Was that an addition from just in the last couple of days that was added? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Zinke?
Yeah. How many of these positions are new positions? So you had mentioned the couple there and a social study. How many of this, and this might not be a fair question in this forum for it being right now that I'm asking it, but are there any other positions that are new that we didn't have previously?
Brand new, not in the budget?
Forget the budget. That's kind of a convoluted question, because if we're talking budget, but you budget for new positions while we're trying to save money, it's all relative. I mean, how many are new positions, budget aside?
We have the 2 psychologists, but we were informed by one of the psychologists that they're not going to accept the position because of compensation. The compensation was too low, so they decided to not accept our offer of employment. However, the budget does matter in this particular instance because we provide staff on an allocation criteria. So we have stayed true to that allocation criteria that was presented to you earlier this year. We're not outside of ratio on any of these items. And Terry can add a little bit of information as well from her perspective.
Thank you, Terry Willoughby. For the record, one thing we'll be looking at, and it's already happening to some extent, but every position that comes up, every personnel action, I'll be reviewing for fiscal impact. So I want to know that we budgeted X for this position and we hired them at that. So it's either going to be within that budget or it'll be savings. Or if it's over, we have to find the money before we fill that position. So that will be, you'll see some of those actions coming forward. It'll be in the fiscal impact.
Okay, that'd be great. Because you understand what I'm saying. I could make the budget however much I want, and then everything fits into it. So the right sizing matters in this case, and
it's budgeting by position. We'll be examining the budget for each position, not as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you we're not gaming the budget to add positions.
Oh, I'm not suggesting that.
No,
I'm just wanted the answer particular to how I was asking it for the sake of budget being something that can be manipulated. I'm not suggesting you're doing that by any means.
No, I just want that,
sure,
out there, and similar to what the board considered in December, right? When we brought a CFO recommendation request as a brand new position, that came to the board ahead of time, right? And then the board did not approve it at that meeting, and the board wanted to see cuts before we brought that position back. And then we did implement the classified management and certified management RIFs to accommodate that position.
Any other questions?
I have one more comment on that one of just, I do like seeing on the, under the information to see that we have a lot of these people coming from the other counties around us, that they're seeing this as a good place to be. I don't know. I just liked seeing that on there. I have other questions about other things, but I don't know if we're done with.
Could I please say one more thing? I just want to say this clearly. New hire does not mean new position.
Okay, any other on consent? Ms. Jackson?
I do. I think we got a few questions, emailed questions, and I was told we would have some answers to those. I believe some of those were for the consent items. And so I'm just wondering, I'm trying to figure out which, there were a couple questions about the cash books. Is that
So that's on the fiscal watch item.
okay?
And then there's one on the budget augmentation item. None were on consent.
Okay, none were on the consent items. Thank you. Okay, then my only other question on this then was just the school calendar. I just wanted to be clear on what was revised on the school calendar. So if we can just have clarification on that.
Yeah, with 5 less work days on contracts for employees. We had 3 days where we had a flexible work day for our certified employees, where they can do, flexible work on professional development. And so those days, we're not going to utilize that MOU for next year. So that is 3 less work days. On this calendar, we scheduled the other 2 less work days during the Thanksgiving week. So that will be a full week off over Thanksgiving. That is the revision here.
Thank you. And I lied. I have one more thing. Sorry. I did have I had some people email me about the superintendent's contract. And so I would like to answer that unless someone else would like to, but I didn't want the superintendent answering it because it's his contract. I just wanted to say that the change in that contract is just the change that he's going to be taking the 5 days, just like everyone else. So he will have five days that he will not work or he will not be paid for. The 4% increase that is in there is actually part of his original contract, and that's his step and column. And so if we would have said that all classified and certified and bus drivers do not get step and column and we froze that, he would not get that 4% increase. But because we did not freeze that, he still gets his step and column also of the 4%. And so it's just the 5 days. And I just wanted to clarify that because I think there were some questions on it.
Yeah, and just to correct the record a little bit on what you just stated, the step and column is negotiated. So the associations have to agree to a frozen step and column, right? So, yeah.
Thank you for covering that because I was going to if you didn't. So anything else? All right. Let's go to public comment on anything under consent.
Adrian Sawyer, for the record, parent of 2 DCSD students. I was wondering for 5B, if there was a reason why the special run vouchers weren't attached and if the trustees had been able to review them. And also for 5F, I support the interlocal agreement to transfer the dog park to the town of Minden. Thank you to the town manager and to the superintendent for following through on that.
Thank you.
Looks like you'll need to pull the vouchers.
Weren't they
or
attached at
5B.
one point? I thought I had seen them. I'm not imagining things. They were attached somehow. They are not now. That's okay.
Can I also just comment on that just to let people know we do get those ahead of time. So if they are not attached, we have seen them. So we don't always notice when they're not attached. I just want to clarify that just so that people aren't like, how did you guys not notice this? You didn't look at them and you're going to go ahead. We do get them ahead of time.
Because
so-
it's a lot to get through.
Yeah.
So
So I
we
do want to
get them.
clarify that.
Yeah. So should we pull the vouchers then?
I think it's best to pull the vouchers.
Best to
yes.
pull them.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we will go ahead and pull 5B from our consent. And B. And then if someone would like to make a motion to approve consent item, the remaining consent items.
I would make a motion to approve the consent items absent 5B.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Miller. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we will go to agenda item number 6. Our consideration of final 25-26 budget amendments and augmentations. Thank you, Ms. Estes, for being here and being patient.
You're welcome. Sue Estes for the record. We have resolution 2508 and 2509, I believe. Oh, sorry, 2608 and 9, yes. Okay. And if you look at your highlights, you'll see the changes that were made in the general fund. It looks like the salaries increased, but they increased because we paid for the adjustment for the 24-25 teacher salary schedule that we had to pay in the current year. So it's really a one-time cost that we incurred, but we had enough underspend in the current budget that we were able to cover that. And I was pretty sure that was going to happen. So, and one of the things that we had it was fortunate for this year is that our utilities, because we had such a mild winter, really were over budgeted by, as you can see, we reduced the budget by $410,000 in the utilities, which covered all of the overages for the adjustment, which was really good. I mean, we could have been in this place where we would have gone further in the hole. And then we made some simple adjustments through the other categories that you see on the highlights. The Aspire lease, of course, we were only paying 6 months of that Aspire lease. We just received our $10,000 that we had paid for January that they returned. So that is a net result of that. The property and casualty insurance, that is going up because we've had a lot of specific claims that have been filed against our insurance company. We still do have to pay the $10,000 deductible for those claims. And so that actually increased by quite a bit. We also had an increase in the PRIS funding because in our payroll department, when somebody gets covered under insurance, and we have rectified that since, but we didn't have everybody put onto PRIS. It's just a wash, because whether it's paid for in one lump sum or whether it's paid for within the payroll is really why that is increased. I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. If there's nothing that kind of stands out. We did reduce 24-9 out of the maintenance budget. It was a budget that was sitting there for specific claims that were not used. So we actually reduced that. It is in the budget for next year, but for this final amendment, we were able to pull some of the funds out that we weren't going to spend. So that's basically what we have done and the budget has to remain with the ending fund balance as we had filed it in February. We still anticipate another underspend in the current budget to actually roll forward into the next year, but we already budgeted for that in the May final. And I don't think that there's anything else. I did want to address a question that came to, and it was from Adrian about the cash books, but that is, if you'll look at the highlighted areas, okay, when we post, I just want you to know that the cash books are something that are not required. There's a lot of districts that don't even use a separate set of cash books, but I'm not comfortable with not using cash books because the cash books is what I balance to my general ledger every single month to make sure that that everything that we have posted is correct. And we find lots of different things at the end of the month that we've, either hasn't been posted or I didn't get an accounts payable that I got posted. So when we have a separate set of cash books, it actually is very helpful. And our auditors love it. They love to use my cash books. I'm sure other people have cash books that are in a different way. But when you see these highlighted things, and she referenced that the payroll for February was $668.97 more than what we had originally posted in February. This happens quite a bit. When I close the books for a particular month, okay, whatever is on the books at the time is what gets posted to our cash books, and they have to balance to the general ledger. if somebody voids a check, or if somebody comes in and says, I didn't get paid for this, and we have to run a special run, sometimes that happens after the books are closed. And then I have to go back into the prior month when I don't balance in the next month because it's off by that amount, and pull that report again and see if there was any payroll that was missed in the prior year. And then I have to go back and post it to the month that it actually applied to. And that's what this $668.97 was. She was referencing some voided checks that we'd had. There was a little snafu in the payroll, one particular month in March on the payroll 315, and we had to void out a lot of bus drivers' paychecks and reissue paychecks. What she doesn't see is that the check number is missing out of the general fund, but it is in the special ed fund. And you can see where I've highlighted that it is actually sitting in the special ed fund with that particular check number that shows. So it is all there. I'm just not sure why, because you have to look at all the funds. Sometimes it's not always just in the general fund. So that's what that is. Okay, and I don't think there was anything else that I wanted to discuss. Oh, yes, in the insurance fund, because of the lack of revenue that we're receiving in the first part of the year, we actually had budgeted a little high, hoping that was going to come in that way. But because we've lost a lot of people and our insurance is going to be, it's going to be affected by this, because when you're losing people, you lose the revenue that is coming from the insurance. So I did have to reduce the actual revenue in the insurance fund by $400,000 that is actually being reduced. So our ending fund balance is, I kind of project that it's going to end up around $350,000. So, the insurance is a big deal, and we're going to probably have to kind of take a look at all of this and just exactly how we're going to start bringing that balance up. But we're going to have a lot of incurred but not reported. We have some big claims that are actually happening right now. So that's the only real big change that actually we made. Otherwise, it's just moving money around in different areas and stuff. But that's the only one that we had a reduction in the actual revenue. And then we did have a reduction in the revenue in the general fund. And just a slight one. We had our tuition we had budgeted from Alpine County for $185,000, and we know that we're not receiving any more than $145,000. So we actually had to reduce the actual revenue that we could posted, which we had to fit those expenditures within that same parameter and end up with an ending fund balance that remained with what we had in February. And then our underspend will be what we kind of carry forward into the next year, and hopefully we will have quite a bit of underspend. And that was it. That was all I had.
Sue, do you mind just guesstimating what our anticipated underspend will be at the end of this year?
Well, I budgeted for it in the May final.
Yeah.
And I think that our ending fund balance will actually go down. The negative will, it sounds strange, but it's going to actually go down in the negative piece of it it'll probably end up being closer to 900,000. That's our objective. Is hopefully that we'll have an additional $1 million underspend that we can actually budget for that, and we did budget for it in the May final for the 26-27 year.
The other thing the board should be aware is Sue's reached out to Dave Silva, our auditor, and we've requested to have the audit earlier in the fall than December. So hopefully that can be done no later than October.
Actually, Terry reached out to him.
Oh, Terry. Okay,
I talked to him, but Terry did reach out to him. And so he recognizes the need. We are going to have, I think that the problem that we could run into by changing the calendar, and I just want to make this a point, the problem that we're going to have running into with the change of calendar to start paying people on July 1st is that we've already issued 3 checks before they hit the doors. That's a problem, because we could have several that actually term before we actually start school, and they've already received 3 checks. And if somebody quits, if we have a para or anybody who quits maybe in September or October, they will already have been paid too much and will be in an overpaid situation. So that's the problem with changing that calendar from an August to July to a July through June. And we know that's a problem. As a matter of fact, we've talked to other school districts, and they are not in favor of that at all, because they run into that very same problem. And so that's just the kind of a thing that we're going to have to be looking for. It's hard to get money back when we have overpaid people, you know, before they actually start work. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as a point.
Yes.
But we've been kind of cautioned by the Department of Taxation that they want our calendars to be the same, but they just don't quite understand the whole process of the payroll and how it works. And so I think that this is kind of an ask that kind of is going to trigger some other things that are not going to be favorable.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Sue. You're right. Department of Taxation directed us to pursue this with our associations.
Right.
So, and I'm sure the board is aware of that since you've been watching and attending those meetings with me.
Any questions? We'll go Ms. Miller and then Ms. Jackson.
Sue, I have a question in regards to Alpine. Why did we receive less funds, and do we anticipate that going into the next school year?
It totally has to do with enrollment, because the enrollment that we actually bill for, we have an extensive billing that I do every year. That's an invoice that breaks down all the expenditures and gives a per student cost. And then we bill them for what the cost becomes for each one of those students. And when they lose enrollment, we're going to lose tuition. So that's basically what happened, is that and next year it's going to be even less, because I don't know, I think there's only, we haven't had any new students at Alpine County, and seniors will graduate next year, so we're going to actually receive less next year.
Okay. Are they pursuing then? Oh,
Well,
sorry.
additional information on that topic. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But what I've learned from Alpine is they have an exclusive special education services agreement with Lake Tahoe Unified. So we no longer receive special education students from Alpine.
And that's what I was going to ask. Are they going to South Tahoe instead of coming to Douglas then?
We know the special education students are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sue, when will we know how much we actually underspent? Like when will that be finalized?
Well, we start on the budget. We can't close the books until, you know, we're trying to, hopefully, because we have to kind of move this along and get our auditors in there to start the audit process. So we're hoping that we can actually close these books sometime after July 31st, and then we start the audit. And because they want us to take the audit to the board in November, you know, Terry's going to be taxed with the responsibility of doing the financial statements, but, you know, we're hoping to have a lot of that done by the end of August, and we would have an idea about where we are at that point. Okay.
And we receive revenue way beyond the fiscal year. So Sue, is it through September 15th we get revenue for 2026?
There are some things like this, the special ed caseload and stuff. We didn't actually receive that until September of last year, but we recorded it into the 24-25 school year. So because we needed that money to actually, you know, help defray a little bit of the cost of the negative, you know, that we ended up with. So we do receive funds clear into August and September, but at some point you just have to cut that off, and you just have to say whatever we receive is going to have to be booked in the current year. And, you know, but we are still receiving funds. Like, we have to request all the last of the funds after June 30th to request the funds for the federal grants. You know, the last little bit, you have to use the accrual for July. So sometimes those come in a little different, but we use the accruals so that we can do our final request in June. And then hopefully we'll get most of those. Like, I'm still waiting for 2 grants that haven't sent the money for April. So, you know, they will try to move it along, but I'm just, you know, Frankie's right. We don't receive a lot of those funds until later in the year after we've closed the books. So do we really know what we're going to end with? We won't until probably the end of August.
Okay, thank you. Terry, did you have something you wanted to add to that, or?
No, we will work with our auditors. There are ways to reach out to agencies and get good estimates of what they believe. Even though we don't get the actual payments until September, we can reach out to the agencies and get good estimates. Then that's sufficient for audit purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brady, did you have your hand up? Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Estes? All right. Thank you. We will go to, did you have?
And you'll need to remember to do both of the resos.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. But we will go ahead and go to public comment on this agenda item.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 2 DCSD students. I do see the all funds just seem to be a very problematic thing, because even the CLGF said, I see the check in the special ed, but I don't see it in the all funds, the voided check. So not all the transactions are in the all funds, and that was my impression, that every transaction that is in the special ed fund would be mirrored in the all funds. That's not the case. Anyway, I'm hoping moving forward, the all funds thing is fixed, because it just seems like it's not very transparent and not very accurate. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for any further discussions, questions, and a motion. No, we have to do them separately.
If you're ready for a motion, I would have moved to approve number 2608, resolution to augment and amend the general fund for the fiscal year 2025-2026.
I second.
I have a motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Jackson. Any further questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I would move to approve resolution 2609 to augment and amend certain funds to which the ad valorem taxes are not allocated for fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Miller. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your hard work. And congratulations on your retirement. It's exciting. Thank you for all you do. Oh, I was going to go. All right, we will go to item number 16. Our surplus of real property for C.C. Manili Elementary School, Resolution 2607. Ms. Willoughby.
Terry Willoughby for the record. This is the next step in the process of the consolidation of C.C. Manili, and this is the legally required step of declaring that real property as surplus. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to take that in, and that will allow us to move forward with the process of selling or disposing of that property under Nevada law.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
There's more information I can
Oh,
add to
okay.
this.
Thank you.
Terry covered the purpose of this item. I do want to share two entities reached out to me regarding this property. The first entity was the Boys and Girls Club, interested in developing a teen center. And then the second entity is the Washoe Tribe. We do have Chairman Smokey here today. The tribe actually toured the facility with me and a few board members and principal spires. And I'm sure Mr. Smokey will express his interest here in public comment.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, then we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Thank you for sticking around.
We have long meetings also. Thank you. And my name's Cyril Smokey, Chairman of the Washoe Tribe, Nevada, California. And yeah, we've just been following everything. I mean, ever since, first discussions were going around about the possibilities of any one building or facility or school, might be shutting down. Just knowing the fact that when buildings and things shut down, a lot of times it's tough when they're sitting there empty. We know that we have a couple of buildings that are kind of beyond repair because of that, and there's still a lot of office space in Minden and Gardnerville that's constantly for lease or open. But we've been expanding. We've been fixing up some of our more current buildings, refurbishing, utilizing more office space because the tribe has just really been growing. But the possibility, if the board decides to move forward or whatever decisions are made, the Washoe tribe definitely has interest in acquiring that property for that school. Specific uses, will be determined. Most of it will be still remain within education, within our own education that we currently do. We have limited services. We have very small spaces for our language programs. Our Head Start buildings are getting older. We kind of took a look back at that as well, and possibility daycare centers. Filling the needs of the community really is another part of it. So, along with possibly adult education, I did just see all that nice equipment outside. What do you call that? The playground, yeah. Because that's something that was discussed, and that stuff it can't be moved, or it'll lose lose warranty and be unsafe to be reassembled someplace else. But there's a lot of possibilities. Many of us went there. I was a superstar back in the day as well. So and it's just jumping on an opportunity while it's available, and not being letting a building just sit there forever. We know that's something that's hard on everything. You got to use things to keep it moving, keep it working. But we do have interest in it, seeing that it just opened up, and hope that the board, just letting and hope you realize that we can put it to good use and not let it just go to waste. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time, and bring back to the board. Any further thoughts, comments, questions, or motion?
I'll just make a comment. It's good to see and to hear that we have people that are interested. I think that was a lot of us, that was our main concern, is it's sitting empty or what's going to happen to it. And it's still an important building in that community. And so I'm grateful that there are people that are interested and have some good uses for it, that it could still serve a purpose. So.
And it's not a charter school. All right. Mr. Zinke.
Yeah, I was just going to say that when Chairman Smokey was referring to himself as a superstar, that was the logo of Manili when I went there as well. That's what he's saying. We were the home of the superstars, not, I think it's the Cougars now. So he wasn't bragging about his ability. He was admitting that he went to school there.
I love that. Mr. Brady.
I would move to approve Douglas County School District Resolution number 2607 as presented.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Miller. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we'll go to agenda item number 12. That is the approval of the fiber optics outside plant management and dark fiber agreement with Digital Technology Solutions. Thank you for sticking around and being so patient. And Mr. Rex.
Yeah, if it's all right, I'll just introduce this. But when we were having the conversation about the health insurance earlier, it kind of reminded me, like, operating your own fiber network is kind of like trying to operate your own health insurance as a school district. That's not what we do. We're here to educate kids. But anyways, when I first came to Douglas County last summer, I met a lot of great people and a lot of tremendous people here in the valley and up at the lake. One of those is this gentleman, Jonathan Young. He's the president of DTS Fiber, and he's also a parent of 2 kids here in the district. So we're excited about that also. One of the challenges that we faced in our technology department, I think the second or third week I was here, I was out standing along the road with 2 other members of our team, like the little orange flags where you're marking stuff. And we were walking along the road and putting flags in the ground. And I was just like, this is a lot. But anyways, that evolved into some conversations with Jonathan and really evolved into him sitting here today. His company, and we'll actually talk about it hopefully at next month's board meeting as we kind of review the last year in technology. But the specific piece that he's here to talk about today is a partnership where we're saying we're not really in the business to operate fiber. This is what he does and does really, really well. And we found a really unique public-private model that we think works really well and honestly saves the district not only in not having additional cost, and Jonathan can talk about the liability involved with repairing fiber, and it will blow your mind. It's very expensive. But anyways, once again, I'm really happy Jonathan's here tonight. Appreciate the board entertaining this option. And Jonathan, I'll turn it over to you and pull up the presentation that you have.
Thank you. For the record, Jonathan Young, CEO of DTS and DTS Fiber. So we're a local internet service provider, like Spectrum and Frontier, probably second, third largest. So we run fiber optic to homes and businesses, mostly within the Carson Valley area. We are looking at expanding into TRE, a little bit into Tahoe as well. We also serve the community in Gerlach. We will be serving Austin, Nevada as well. So quite a bit of the state. We also bring connectivity in from Reno, and Southern California will be coming shortly as well. So we will be peering into those exchanges. So kind of a little bit, that was a little bit about us. 99.9% uptime. We're local. I live here in the community as well. And I've been here since 2006. I started DTS in 2014 and went from IT consulting to running fiber optic internet. So big change. We're a CLEC, a competitive local exchange within Nevada and California. So next slide. So dark fiber. So there's assets within the district's control that was installed over the years. And we're looking at finding a way to maximize their use. Obviously, they are property of the school district. None of that is changing. We're just looking at seeing if there's any synergy to take those and help the community as a whole. So as part of that, there's a component that is missing, which I'll show you in the second slide. But the dark fiber will be, actually, let me pause that. I'm sorry. But so dark fiber, the operational cost within the school district, as Jared was alluding to, fiber is very expensive. It's expensive to install. It's expensive to do maintenance from aerial. You need aerial trucks. You need splicing trailers. And the list goes on. Locating services. You have to have 24/7 operations. You have to have operations centers. So what we're proposing is helping the district manage those assets so that those costs don't have to be bared. The engineering and reliability, what we're proposing is providing our extra fiber that we own to the district at no charge. It's about 8 miles. You can go into the next slide, please. And so I know these maps are kind of difficult to see, but probably in your packets you can zoom in, or you can always ask us for more detailed. We intentionally want to leave it a little kind of difficult to see because it is infrastructure, so it is sensitive in nature. Right now, the school district down in Rancho area has a couple miles of fiber, and it goes to 395 in Pinion. Then it hops on a leased type of circuit that goes all the way back into Minden Elementary. From Minden Elementary, it then goes to Airport, where the internet and all of your computer infrastructure sits. So what we're proposing is providing on the next one a 8-mile chunk of fiber, really 2 threads of fiber that we're going to be providing to the district at no cost. This 2 fibers will transmit all the data from the schools down in the Ranchos area all the way back up, and it will also pick up Douglas High School, pick up Minden Elementary, and middle school, and also Gardnerville Elementary, and bring all that back to the airport to then go out for the internet access. So it's a pretty pretty important part for you guys. And we're providing that fiber at no additional cost as part of the exchange, right? We get access to the conduit systems and the fiber that go down to the other schools. And also there's a conduit system that goes on the bike trail, I believe. So it's a little bit of a trade there, but I'm mostly doing this as a kind of an appreciation to the school district for additional work that we do. We have upcoming projects, camera systems, so on and so forth that we're helping you guys with. So it's also building a long-term relationship is what's more important to us. So as Jared alluded, I do have kids in the school. Mr. Reed has been great with them. And I'm a little nervous to send them to middle school. I'm not going to lie. But anyways, so that's pretty much the gist of it. I think there is one more slide. And in that slide, 811 dig locates. Anytime that someone wants to go dig something, put even a tree in the ground, you're supposed to call 811 dig so that utilities can mark. We are a utility. We're also a licensed contractor as well. So that permits us to do repairs and builds and so on and so forth. Splicing fiber. Fiber is, not to get too technical, I tend to do that sometimes, but a fiber is 8 microns in size. So it's really small, about probably 5 times smaller than the human hair. And we splice those little fibers. The outer jacket is 250 microns inside, and that's the plastic coating. And then the other plastic coating is 900 microns in size. We strip those down, we put them in. It's basically welding glass is what we do. And we do that throughout the whole community. So when you see my trucks and things on the side of the road, that's what we're doing. When you see trailers and whatnot. But that kind of gives you a breakdown of the company and what we're proposing. And if there's any questions, I would love to answer those.
Mr. Zinke?
Yeah, I have a question really quick.
Mr. Alvarado?
So Mr. Young, you were here, you heard about the surplus item for CC Manili. What are the implications of existing fiber in buildings that we surplus, potentially sell off?
So obviously that fiber was installed a few years back from Curtis and Sons, I believe. And that fiber was, right now there's a piece of equipment that transmits for the other schools back into that. We would just move that into a enclosure that's underground and then just keep on moving that forward. So that particular location would not have to stay online to continue to serve the other schools. Hopefully that answers the question.
That does answer it. What would be the estimated cost to do that type of work?
We would just do that at no cost.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be part of the service that we would be providing to the school district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Zinke?
So on this service contract, where are the costs? So like when do we get a bill for
You
any of the
don't.
work? Ever for anything?
No, it's actually kind of an infrastructure. It's an agreement. It's like a partnership. So we're trading and swapping assets. That's all we're doing. And then as us taking over those assets basically for life, right? We then in the agreement will take care of all the things that are listed in the agreement, which are repairs of the fiber. We're almost treating like the fiber like it's ours, but then we serve it for the schools.
So the benefit to you as a company is that you can use it to sell to private entities.
There
when
you
they
go.
use it.
Yes. And limited, there's we have over 400 miles of fiber that we've done, and this is only a few miles. So it's limited, but we still think it's important on some of the runs. We're also doing it as more of a help and more of a partnership with the school district.
So what are the implications for speed or usage if it's being used by significantly more people?
Well, that's the great thing about fiber. So like when you use Starlink or something like that, there's a capacity limit, right? With fiber, there's no limits. 800 gig, 1 terabyte a second. So, one of those little hard drives, these things can move that much data in 1 second. So it's pretty much limitless.
If I could add one thing here too, one of the challenges we face when we have our own infrastructure, when I first evaluated it, I asked the question, well, what happens if we have a cut or a dig? we don't have redundancy built in. And I'm a huge proponent of redundancy, and we'll talk more about that next month. But Jonathan, maybe you can address by integrating with his network, if we do have something that happens, instead of our downtime being 2, 3, 4 days and paying $25,000 to $50,000, maybe you can address what that
Yeah.
looks like.
So great question. And so there's a couple of moving parts to fiber repair, right? So if it's on the pole underground, most of the time someone dug it, drunk driver hit a pole, right? So there's that's why actually in the revised agreement, I wanted to make sure I had the ability to then go attach that insurance, right, for the repair costs. That was important for us. But we would fork out the bill to go get that repaired, and the district pays nothing to have that done. And then we would go after whatever insurance is. If it was an act of God, we carry I think it's $5 or $10 million policies. So we would then take that liability on as well for the district too, and make sure that all repairs are there. And then as far as redundancy and other components, we're working on making sure that the high school is considered like a DR site, a backup site. And, there's generators and other things to look at for the infrastructure. So we have airport, the high school, and then we're also looking at making sure we have redundant internet circuits. Right now, higher ed provides a single internet circuit. If that internet goes down, there's no backup right now. And as we know, the district is pretty much 100% internet, right? Everything is mostly cloud-based these days. So it's important as we work through these motions that we do set up the redundancies for internet and other services.
Jonathan, I'm reminded of the term, if it seems too good to be true. So what I would be interested in is if there are any downside potentials, and at the same time, is a contract like this transferable, assuming that you were to sell the company?
That was another request that I put in, is that it has to be agreed upon, right? So if I do sell the company, let's say Verizon wants to come in and offer me, a big pile of money, that agreement would be transferable, but it would be the blessings of the district's attorney to review that, and then the new entity, or if they keep the same entity, would have to abide by those terms.
Along the same lines of not too good to be true. I think you're very fair, and this sounds great. It feels like it's a mutual agreement. Is there a circumstance where something could happen to the district because of, say, a hazard or an outside agency or a drunk driver or whatever the case may be? And with that, would you be willing to add us as additionally insured on your insurance?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That's not a problem at all. But I want to make sure I understand what the kind of statement was. So if we create damage to district property, I have no problem with our insurance naming you for that. But I think you were trying to ask a question.
So I'm concerned that and I don't know, I know enough about fiber to ask dumb questions. I'm not sure that if you have access to all of the fiber as the benefit to your company, and in so far as we are concerned, we get service on everything. What are our repercussions for when service is down? What's our recourse if there's a huge problem to where we are now liable for damages of something that was due to DTS fiber or an outside agency that caused such? Now we don't have any recourse unless we are additionally insured.
Yes, and to that point, we would just name you as a additional insurer on our insurance policy.
Okay.
And we have no problem doing that.
Do we need to add that to this contract? I believe this is just, it does say action. It's our first time seeing it, but.
You can approve the contract with conditions that were an added insured on his COI.
And assuming that you're.
Yes, no problem.
You don't have a board to answer to?
No, I do not.
Okay, very good.
Kids. And wife.
Yeah. I do have one more question. Are there any implications for hacking or accessing data for any customers or the district?
No, that's the we all think of one cable being one cable, right? But when you look at a fiber optic cable, there's typically multiple fibers, could be 288, 432. I believe these are like 48 count fibers. So there's each independent thread that's in there. So the district actually has physically separate optic lights. So no, unless you're a state actor and you can go tap into it and siphon off that light, then no, the answer is you would not have that.
So we don't have to worry about being hacked.
No, not
Because
from
we
that
have
mechanism.
not
from that mechanism.
Not from a fiber optic standpoint. Okay.
Correct.
Because we have a lot of sensitive information
Yes.
on our kiddos. We don't want to
And we
make that public.
We have the same type of information from casinos to banks to Douglas County itself too.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Jackson.
I'm just going to start off with what Marcus said, that I feel like all I know how to do is ask dumb questions right now, because this is not something I know much about. So this could be dumb, but my question is, did we have our attorney look at this contract at all? And was it approved by, it's been looked at by someone besides us?
Yes, the contract was vetted by legal counsel.
Mr. Brady?
If I may, where in this contract is a transferability clause, or is it implied?
Was it in the revised? Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Bear with me. I guess.
I would just want to make sure that's part and parcel to the motion, if it's not included.
It looks like it's number 14. Transfer of agreement, I believe.
Yes, that's correct. 14.
Thank you.
I'll turn my microphone back on. Any other questions? All right, then at this time, we'll have you step to the side, but stick around in case we have more questions. And we will open it up for public comment at this time. All right, seeing as there is none, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board. Any further questions, comments, discussion, and a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiber optic plant management and dark fiber agreement with DTS Fiber, with the change that they add us as an additionally insured, us being Douglas County School District.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Zinke, a second by Ms. Miller. Any further questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much for sticking around, and we appreciate all that you're doing for our school district, and we look forward to working with you. Keep turning my microphone off. We will go to agenda item number 8. Miss Mitchell. This is our DCSD Regional Equipment Transfer MOU.
Hi, good evening. Ashley Mitchell, AGPM Administrator. This MOU came about back in January. We spent some CTE competitive funds in 2018-19 on a mill and a lathe for a metalworking course that we no longer offer. And so Cade Balligad had reached out to the state to ask what would be the most appropriate way to get rid of this very expensive equipment that was specifically granted for a program we no longer offer. And they directed us to reach out to other Nevada counties that do offer metalworking and see if anyone wants it. And Washoe County wants it, but we don't have a process in place to transfer grant-funded equipment from one county to another. And so NDE provided an example. I edited that example for our needs, and then legal reviewed it. And so you have step one before you, which is just the general MOU. And if it's approved, the next month I'll bring you the specific MOU filled in for that mill and that lathe to transfer to Washoe.
Yeah. More context for the board is these transfers will be placed into the consent items. They will not be individual items on the agenda, but you're always welcome to pull it.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Miller?
So if we're transferring equipment that was purchased with grant funding, is it just a transfer of equipment? Because obviously the grant funding didn't come out of like our general fund. So it's just a transfer of an asset.
Yes, they were very expensive, but they were grant funded. So it would just transfer to them and we would document that. The MOU would serve to show to the state that any record keeping for that equipment has now transferred to Washoe, but there wouldn't be money exchanged either way.
That we no longer are in possession of the asset.
Ms. Jackson?
Thank you. And I don't remember seeing, I just thought of this, so I don't remember seeing it in this, but is there anything in there of the cost of the transfer and who would be covering that or how that would work?
So the top of the MOU has that wording that this is general and there's still details to be worked out within each circumstance. This is very heavy equipment. And so we would be requesting that Washoe let us know how they wish to come and pick it up. But it would be different in every circumstance.
We just don't want to foot the bill for it is what okay.
Mr. Zinke?
Is there a way to, I mean, do we ever accept grant funded goods from other school districts as well? I think we have. So is there a way in the MOU, and I didn't go through this with a fine tooth comb, but to expressly state that anything we are giving is at the cost of the county receiving the good? In other words, I don't want to ever be on the hook for transferring something for free to another school district.
Yeah, definitely. We can clean that up, that language.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll go to public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Appreciate it. Any public comment? All right, then we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for questions, discussion, or motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the MOU for internal equipment transfers with recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Miller, a second by Mr. Brady. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, agenda item number 11. Ms. Peters, our distance education program amendment. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So just a little context, Douglas County School District every 3 years has to apply for our distance education program. And if at any time in that 3-year period, there is a significant change to offerings in the program, we have to send the Department of Education an amendment. And so our application was submitted July 1st, 2024. So it's good through June 30th of next year, 2027. Our distance education platform is Edmentum. And so that's the curriculum that's used at Aspire. That's the curriculum that we're using right now at summer school, and it's used at our high schools for credit recovery. And the Edmentum program has made some changes that benefit students. They have added additional courses that will allow additional elective credit opportunities and some course credit opportunities. There are some additional science classes. And so if you approve this amendment, then I will submit this to the Department of Education tomorrow. And then these courses are added to our application. And then we are able to have our students have some additional opportunities for Edmentum courses.
And that's effective for next school year?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then next year, I'll come back to you with a whole new application for 3 more years.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any questions? All right, then we will open it up for public comment. Thank you, Ms. Peters. And seeing as there is none, we will close public comment. Bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion.
I would move that the board approve the amendment to the Douglas County School District Distance Education Program as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Knighting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we will go to agenda item number 13, establishment of a finance committee. Ms. Willoughby.
Thank you, Terry Willoughby, for the record. This item is based on best practice for school districts and other agencies. I'm recommending the formation of a finance committee, which would replace the existing district budget committee, and the framework is attached. And some of the reasons for this is it improves transparency with the public. As you can see, there's community members that will be invited to apply for this. The district manages millions of taxpayer dollars, and I feel we have a responsibility to taxpayers. This will not be a decision-making board. They would only be making recommendations to the board. But it does provide an opportunity to get a little deeper into some subjects that maybe you don't want to spend 2 hours in a board meeting, but we could spend more time on educating the public and board members on different topics and providing some of that context. Governmental finance is complicated and most people don't understand it. I'm very passionate about providing that information to people. And I think it gives complex financial issues the time that they really deserve. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I've provided a framework, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Miller and then Mr. Brady.
I love the fact that the core members that you're looking for, parent and community representatives. I've sat on hiring committees before becoming a board member. One thing I think that would be nice would make sure that we have both Valley and Lake representatives on this panel to do that. So that way our entire community feels that their voices are being heard.
Certainly, I'm happy to make any changes to the framework, and that's an excellent suggestion. We'll be opening, if this were to pass, we would open up an application process and we could make that criteria part of it.
I think having a parent or community representative from both areas would be ideal to just for our community to have their input into the communication and to the education of our students. So thank you.
Oh, Mr.
Just a comment, given that this would be a directive by the Board of Trustees to establish this committee, it is subject to the open meeting law, correct?
Terry will be, yes, it will be.
How would we go about getting the members for the committee? Would that be in this forum and an interview process, or would it be by nomination? How are we gonna do that?
We would open up an application process. I believe I'll be able to use the county's mechanism for what they use for their board and committees. If not, we'll open up our own process where we would take applications and vet certain things and then bring the applications, and you would select who to interview from those applications.
Okay, and so along some of what Trustee Miller said, I actually don't know if I agree with having someone specifically from the lake. I know that the lake feels ostracized because they're at 7,000 foot of elevation, but Jacks Valley could make the same argument, as could Powaloo, and they sit in this forum. They talk about the north side of the valley and the south side of the valley. As it sits now, there's only 5 members. I would suggest that we do try to find, similar to as our makeup is, someone from maybe not necessarily each district, but in general zones. So besides just the lake, I would love to see also a north and a south and a Central Valley member if that's amenable to anyone.
So that would be 7 members.
And that's where it gets complicated. Yes, then we have a whole lot of input and maybe not a lot of agreement, but I think more in this case is
Sure.
better.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Mooney.
I'd be careful not to handcuff staff in terms of creating this committee. We want to find talent. We need the right talent for this kind of committee, and it shouldn't be dictated by zones. But if we can get a broad representation with the talent that we need, all the better.
So are we wanting 5 or 7?
Well, I tend to agree with Dave. I think one parent is plenty, maybe a couple, but I started that by saying I don't think we need to have it separated by the area. It's all the county. And again, we start, where do we draw the line? Who got representation and who didn't? That it gets messy really quickly. So I know it sounded like I was a proponent of it. I really actually am saying that I think we can't get too in the mud with who's on this panel by location.
And Terry will be again, they're not making any decisions. They're not replacing the board. They're not here to undermine staff. They are here to listen, and then everything's going to come back to the board they'll make a recommendation to the board, and everything would come back to the board. So everyone would hear it at that point anyway.
Ms. Knighting?
I was just going to say, if it is an open meeting structure, there will be public comment that anybody can come to that meeting and make public comment at it. So I think that opens it up to anybody who's interested to come and make a public comment at that meeting.
I know you had talked about the selection process. Is that something that we as a board are going to be selecting? Or the district? Just clarification.
No, we would bring the applications back to the board typically, and you would make the appointments it's an advisory committee to the board.
Okay.
So we would vet the applications, make sure that people actually live in the county, that they fit into the slots in the framework, and then bring those applications forward.
Okay. At that point, we would also appoint 2 trustees. Okay. All right. So this is just to create and start the process of that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. Any other questions? Ms. Jackson?
I just want to make a comment. I look at those key issues for the board discussion, and I see a lot of the things that I feel like we've been lacking right now. And so I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to be a really good thing that where, as you said, where this group can kind of work to get deeper into things and then bring us the information we need to make a good decision. And so I just really like this. And then just in the discussion that's been had, I do feel we need to have the people with the experience that we need in several different areas. I think that's most important, is the experience or the knowledge they have more than where their house sits, kind of a thing. So I think this is good.
Thank you. Did you have something else to add? Okay. Sorry, I keep seeing your hand move, so I thank you. I just want to make sure I get everybody. All right, so we will go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 2 DCSD students. I 100% support this. I think it is a good way to get the data, to go through it, and then to be able to present it to the board in an efficient manner. So I am very, very, very excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. We expect your application. All right. Any further public comment? Any online? All right. It's nice to see our Zoom is working still. Good. Thank you for that. All right. So we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the establishment of a finance committee as presented.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Zinke and a second by Ms. Knighting. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. You have your work cut out for you. Thank you. All right. Agenda item number 14. Authorization of submission of requested fiscal reports to the Department of Taxation under Fiscal Watch guidelines. Ms. Willoughby again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Willoughby for the record. And I want to also acknowledge Sue Estes. She gathered a lot of these reports. We are required to submit certain documents to Department of Taxation now that we're under fiscal watch every 2 weeks. And we also have to provide proof that it's been submitted to the board. So our first meeting with under fiscal watch is tomorrow. So we were able to get this on the board and show that we are really serious about complying with their requests and the things that they have asked for: monthly bank reconciliations, the treasurer's report, cash balances of all the funds. And then I provided a written status report on how fiscal practices have been corrected or improved. So this is draft 1. So you're going to see updates on the progress as we move through the timeline of fiscal watch on that.
Question that I have, you said that these reports have to be filed every 2 weeks.
Well, we talk to taxation every 2 weeks. We just have to provide submission that they were submitted to the board once a month.
Okay. I was going to say, we only meet once a month. So thank you. Any other questions? All right, then we'll open it up for public comment. All right, seeing as there is none, we will close it and bring it back to the board for any further questions and a motion.
In my conversation with Ms. Willoughby, I had thought it would be beneficial to have a variance analysis report included in this so that we can see what's working, what's not working, where we need to address and place our attention. She's okay with that.
And that is covered under the memo, the written status. That is one of the things we're planning on doing, is the monthly reports to the board, and those will also go to taxation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Miller? Oh, go for it.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the attached documents and approve the submission to the Department of Taxation.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ms. Miller, a second by Ms. Jackson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you. All right. Agenda item number 15, Ms. Willoughby, you're up again. Procurement Efficiency and Modernization Initiative.
Can you bring up my presentation, please?
Click, or do you want him to click?
I'll click.
Okay.
That clicker far, far away. Thank you. Tonight, I'm going to talk about how we could best modernize procurement in the district to better support our schools, strengthen accountability, and maximize every taxpayer dollar. My objective is not to create more bureaucracy. It's to create a procurement system, which is basically how you buy things. It's faster for schools, easier for staff, and stronger from an accountability perspective. Scroll. Okay. Okay. Every public dollar should equal maximum public value. We want to improve service to our schools, increase transparency, strengthen internal controls, reduce unnecessary administrative work. We have less administrative people, and so we need to make sure that they're not spending extra time doing things that we could streamline. And what is public procurement? It is basically, so unlike a private organization, we have a duty on how we spend taxpayer dollars. We need to spend them in the most efficient manner. Things that we are procurement: classroom supplies, technology, software, school buses, playground equipment, maintenance. And we need to make sure the public expects to spend every dollar wisely, and we need to make sure that we honor that. So the principles of public procurement are stewardship of public funds, improving service to schools, strengthening accountability and transparency, enhancing internal controls, and support long-term financial sustainability. There is a balancing act. If you go too fast and you buy things too fast, then you lose the internal control aspect. But we want to make sure we have providing service, that we have stewardship controls in place and improve service to schools so that they are getting things to the students in a timely manner without a lot of paperwork and in the most efficient manner possible. I also want to make sure that we have things that last and that when it's possible, we use the power of bulk purchasing. If you join in a cooperative purchasing agreement with 30 other schools, you're going to get better prices on things. And we need to do bulk purchasing instead of every school buying the same office supply separately. Let's bundle those purchases together and negotiate better prices. So we're supporting students through efficient operations. Again, improving service to the schools. Some of the current challenges I've already seen, and I will continue to do this assessment. There's quite a few manual processes that I've experienced. I've talked to some of the principals and school staff. There's delays in approval, inconsistent workflows, limited spend visibility. We're not tracking because purchasing is not done tracked by vendor, so we don't know how much we're spending per vendor necessarily. And there's also some administrative burden associated with the current system. So some of the goals would be to simplify purchasing, perhaps implement purchasing cards for low-value purchases, improve accountability, accelerate service, improve reporting, and reduce some of the manual work. Currently, we issue requisitions, which for almost every purchase and purchase orders for every purchase, whereas food services is an example. She's entering into a contract for the amount of food she's budgeted for. That could be done under one purchase order, and then she would draw down against that purchase order and not necessarily need to get approval. You've already approved a contract for $100,000. As long as she stays within her $100,000 per year, the board shouldn't need to see every purchase order. Shouldn't need another purchase order for that. Purchasing cards for low values, many school districts use those. Vendor management and using technology systems. I'm currently discussing things we can with Tyler Technologies, who's our software provider, to learn about their best practices and point me to some school districts that are doing things a little differently and that they feel are using it in an efficient manner. So we can get some good case studies. Right now, things are really, it's paper moving across the district. So someone's filling out a form, somebody else signs it, and then comes to business services, we input it in the computer. I'd like to get to a system where it goes in the system once. Everything should be just touched one time. We don't need, it shouldn't be passed around multiple times. Catalog purchasing, again, cooperative purchasing agreements are great. They don't have to go out to bid. Somebody's already done that bidding work for you. And then it's called a piggyback. The board has to authorize that piggyback when the purchase is made, but you use the power of bulk purchasing. And then the staff doesn't have to do the bidding process. And then we would also look at spend analytics to make sure we know who our big vendors are. We can go back and negotiate with those. Some of the benefits to the schools are faster approvals, easier ordering, less paperwork, and better budget visibility. I want to get to the point, I want to provide timely and accurate financial reporting to the board and the public. This is a step to getting there. And again, we would have better purchasing leverage. It would speed up our audit time and financial reporting time. We need to direct the dollars back to the classroom and improve purchasing supports. And it helps offset some of the enrollment reduction pressures. And we also need to get our money to our vendors in a timely manner because we need to keep our vendors happy. So the proposed timeline would be a 0 to 60-day assessment period. In September, I'd return back to the board with some recommendations, and then 3 to 9 months of putting policies in place, and then 9 months to 2 years, automate the process and provide the board analytics about what the performance metrics are. And part of that would be like the days from the day the invoice is received to when it's paid, things like that. We could be reporting back. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Miller?
So I guess another metric would also be like the day that the order's placed to when it was received to when it was processed, like being able to follow that whole workflow, because obviously right now it's taking a lot longer because it's a manual process versus an electronic process.
I'd like, tracking staff time, amount of staff time spent on processing orders, and from now until then, and then days are similar, how fast the orders are placed to when the goods are received.
So then you can definitely see that optimization and just the implementation of it and just standardization and just really automating the workflows and just really making sure that our employees are not having to do so much manual work versus, just reviewing type situation.
That would be the goal, correct. And I have worked with our attorneys. They're aware of this, so everything will be vetted through the attorneys. I'm not going to go do something that is against NRS, but they're aware. And our auditors, I've spoken to the auditors about the need for this, and they're fully supportive.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, we will open it up for public comment at this time. Seeing as there is none, we will close public comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion on a motion.
I would move that the board support the procurement efficiency and modernization initiative and authorize the CFO to proceed with the proposed 60-day assessment.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Brady, second by Ms. Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, agenda item number 17, Mr. Alvarado.
Okay, item 17. So the requested action from the board for this item is to approve the special attendance area designation application for Jacks Valley and Pinion Hills to the Nevada Department of Education and Commission on School Funding. So at our last meeting, which was a special meeting to trigger the consolidation, for Jacks Valley to Pinion Hills, that's just an initial action by the board, not a final action. I shared the criteria within the SAA. I'm going to use abbreviation just to make things more concise. And so at first there was a 20-mile as the crow flies criteria. In May, the Commission on School Funding added another criteria that would make it more difficult for the district to meet the standard criteria, and that was a 30-minute drive time at peak hours. And so I've been talking about this attendance area adjustment quite a few meetings this year, that they did not have a process. So when I received the memo, I was really excited that they put a process together. They did not develop an official application. So I read the memo, developed this application based upon the criteria within the memo. And it requires that the board also submitted a letter of approval that goes with this application to NDE. So I've added a draft memo from the board, and I've added all the required documentation, which are the Google Maps, mileage, and driving time. There is a discrepancy from the driving time on the Google Maps in comparison to the peak hours, and that variance is demonstrated within the application there. And it's right around 3 to 4 minutes for each of the schools. So, that's everything in a nutshell here. I think it's still going to be difficult for us to be approved for this because we do not meet the standard criteria. However, we're applying under what's called extenuating circumstances. I believe that we meet those extenuating circumstances. I reviewed legislation. I believe the intent for this legislation is to provide additional funding to low-density areas, and Jacks Valley and Pinion Hills are both low-density areas for the county. But that doesn't mean NDE and the commission will approve this application. Some people may say that we preemptively made a decision to trigger the consolidation. However, we don't meet the standard criteria. So this is still, throwing darts in the dark. But I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that the tour that we did with the policy and fiscal analyst division, I'm hoping that opened their eyes to see the situation that we're dealing with, not only financially, but with the two distinct communities. Jacks Valley is one distinct community and Pinion Hills is another. These are not the same communities. So for the district to be forced into this position because of fiscal constraints, I'm hoping they see that as an extenuating circumstance. So any questions by the board?
Ms. Jackson?
First of all, can you explain the process so you said first this goes to who goes to first and what, the process of getting this accepted or approved?
So the process is not clear and transparent. So this application, in the memo, it states we have to submit this in February. However, because this is a new thing and they want to utilize this and then model the budget for the next biennium, NDE has given us a deadline of June 30th. And that's why I quickly, submitted this for this board agenda item, and the board will consider it today, and we will submit it tomorrow morning. If we get done early enough tonight, I'll submit it tonight. We have all the documentation ready, but it's not clear who actually makes a decision. In the NRS, it says the department will make a decision to provide funding for a school in a low density area in an equitable or reasonably calculated manner as it compares to a student in a high density area. There's no definitions to any of these things. There's no criteria for extenuating circumstances. So that's why I'm crossing my fingers. We are the first ones to go through this. I'm not aware of any other district that is submitting an SAA, but we will do so.
Okay, so the first step at least is to get it to the NDE. What can we do as a community to maybe help them understand the importance of this to us? Is there anything we can do as community members in this respect?
Yeah, I think advocating for change, expressing that we are in a fiscal constraint, not by our own making, but by the design of the people-centered funding plan. I encourage the board, to contact NDE, Dr. Victor Wakefield, or Melissa Willis. I think sending a message to them, telling them how important this is for Douglas County School District. I don't know if that's going to give them the encouragement to approve it, but that's what I would recommend to the board.
Ms. Miller?
So we would be able to do that individually?
Yes.
Would you be able to send us their emails?
Yes, I will send you their emails, but the letter that is attached here is a draft from the Board of Trustees, which will be signed by President Wagstaff if approved tonight, does serve as a communication from the board on its own, but an individual email.
Should we, if community members also want to, can we share those emails with them, or is that maybe too much?
They're public employees just like us.
Okay.
They're subject to public records request.
Okay.
And it should be okay for them to receive, requests from different counties and community members within those counties.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we will open it up for public comment at this time. Mr. Reed.
Just want to thank Mr. Alvarado for his time in putting this together and his transparency with me and asking for input on that and being able to take a look at it. But he has worked really hard to advocate for this for our students and our communities, and I just appreciate that.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and a motion.
Seeing no comments, I would move to approve the special attendance area designation application for Jacks Valley and Pinion Hills to the Nevada Department of Education and Commission on School Funding.
I'll second the motion.
A motion by Mr. Brady, a second by Ms. Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 18. This is our NASB nomination and possible, I don't know that it's committee because we already have a NASB representative. Right?
Well, that's a representative, but you're talking about a committee to select employees to submit for nomination.
Okay.
However, a committee is subject to, open meeting law.
Right.
Yeah, you can do a work group.
Can we within this?
Well, I believe, if the board's taking action in a public meeting to put together a work group, it is essentially another committee that that should be subject to the OML.
Okay, so I'm hoping that each of you had the opportunity to go through the NASB areas, and there are a lot. But last year we had 3 that won. Our superintendent won Superintendent of the Year, and Shannon Brown and Leslie Peters won. I can never remember the
Directors of the Year.
Director. Yes, they won our Director of the Year.
Cade won the year before.
And Cade won the year before as our innovative educator. So it has been good for our staff to be recognized. And I think we need to find those teachers and staff members that are making a difference within our district across the valley, regardless of location, and make sure that they get recognized. So there needs to be, in years past, it has been whoever the NASB representative is and the alternate get together, ask principals or district admin who they would recommend, and sometimes even ask them to help write a letter of recommendation for those positions. So I don't know if we want to continue with that and do it that way, or if we want to do, even if we do a committee, we can't have more than 3 board members, correct?
I don't believe the committee is subject to rules around how many board members you can have there, because it's not going to come back. That committee will take action at that meeting.
Okay.
Right. And it's not coming back to the board. If it was coming back to the board, then you would have to have 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you still be constrained to 3? It just like if you went to dinner with 4 board members, you can't do that either.
Well, it depends if it's coming to a regular or special meeting for the whole board to take action.
But this would be the action. Like we would make the committee, and then that committee would write up the recommendations and submit them. It would not come back to the board.
Back to the whole.
So that whether it's.
Can I just comment? When I was on the board before, it was just every single one of us found people that we thought would be good, and we submitted them to the Renee at that time. And Renee's not going to like me for this. But we all submitted people, and I'm not going to submit 60 names and you're going to submit. We each submitted a few, and then and I'm sorry, Renee, but at that time she went through and she went and talked to the principals and she wrote up the application and sent it in. So I'm just saying there are other ways, and it doesn't have to be Renee, because she's giving me dagger looks right now. But it doesn't have to be that, but just that we might not need to do it as a committee, but we just each work, to reach out to people and to find people that we've worked with, or when we visited schools, what we've seen. But we could do something like that where it doesn't even have to be committee. That's how we did it when I was.
So we as a board need to make a decision as to how.
I agree with Heather. A committee is, I think, going in the wrong direction.
Okay.
I think on an individual basis, collective basis, in a public forum, but designated committee kind of brings it to the surface, and then you got competition and people wanting.
We don't want competition.
No, people are going to get hurt if they know they're up for election and don't get it. So I would keep it more discreet than anything else.
I would be comfortable if each board member submitted me at least one name for every award that they would like to see an employee receive. So it's not every single item here, but if you want every single item, that's fine. And then Renee and I will work on processing the paperwork for board signature, which would just be you signing it.
Mhm.
And then we can submit it before the deadline.
Yes, which is August 21st. It's usually, they really like them to be about a week before that. So
I would say if we just decided like on a date, like we need to have them in by July 10th, like, or something. I mean, but we need to pick a date of when we need to send names to them. So that they have time, because if we send it to them the day before it's due,
that's not very kind.
they're gonna look at me and say, you started this, and they're gonna make me write them all or something. No, but yeah, so
There
I
will
think
be
if we have a
throwing
date
daggers.
soon, that gives them time to work through it.
Okay.
Great suggestion. I would recommend somewhere around July 15th.
Okay.
I would
I
love,
was going to say, do we want to have this submitted to you before our next board meeting?
yes.
Okay. Renee does not like us very much right now. We love you, Renee. We love you, Renee. Okay, well, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. All right. All right, so we will close public comment. That means we're really boring, and that's really good.
So since we're not putting together their committee, do we actually have to make a motion? I mean, we can just.
The
we've
board
decided what
doesn't
we're
have to
doing.
take action at all.
We can
Yeah,
just-
so we'll just say submit your names by July 15th. Okay. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, item number 19, Mr. Alvarado.
Okay, NAS stands for Nevada Association of School Superintendents. As a district, we pay dues, and I attend monthly meetings, sometimes more than monthly meetings, with all the other superintendents and the superintendent of the Charter Authority, and also superintendent of public instruction. And this is where we collaborate, either on figuring out what we stand for and developing a purpose statement, which we did do that as a group. And then every biennium, NAS comes up with a resolution about what we believe in and what we're advocating for. So the talking points really highlight everything within the resolution, but I'm going to talk about the big ticket items. So as superintendents, what we're advocating for with our legislature for positive change for every district in the state is we want to see the distribution of all dollars that are budgeted for students across the state. For example, if the whole state is declining 5,000 students as a whole, the money for the base allocation for those 5,000 students should be redistributed to every school district, and that those bases should be increased. We'd like to see a change in declining enrollment provision. So adjusting that provision below 5%, from 5 to 3%. We'd like to see adjustments to the at-risk formula for identification of an at-risk student. Right now, there's those 75 factors that are built in within Infinite Campus, and it's not clear and transparent on how students are being identified, and it has been harmful to our funding for at-risk students within our district. We want to make sure that the base allocation funding for every district, the increase is consistent with inflation so that it covers all of our operating costs, and that we're not dipping into our ending fund balance and getting into a position as we're in now. We want to see the legislature fund inclusive education at true and actual cost, and not just one bucket of dollars that we have to spread across all of our inclusive education programs. We'd love to see universal pre-K and funding for pre-K programs across the state. And then last but not least, we want to see funding for the stacked weights. So if a student is identified, as EL and at risk all at the same time, we want to see both of those weights attached to that student, and we should receive that money to provide the best possible service to kids. So this resolution is what we stand for as a group of superintendents, what we're advocating for and change at the legislature. And so tonight, what I'm asking the board is to approve and stand with NAS, and all the other superintendents to advocate for change and to approve resolution 2606.
Thank you. I like all those personally. I think that's good. Any questions?
We had talked earlier today about having a unified message.
Mhm.
We need to develop a coalition, including the teachers, community members. We need to be singing from the same song sheet. This is fine, but I think we need to have a response to the pupil-centered funding plan separated from some of the items that you have here. We need to really target the pupil-centered funding plan. You mentioned a couple of them, cost of living, hold harmless and what have you. We need to be very strategic and disciplined in how we approach this so that our message is heard. And like you had mentioned, we're not sending out 12 different messages.
Mhm.
So, having that alignment is important. So I have no problem approving this, but I think we need to narrow the focus on what it is we're doing in response to I wanted to say No Child Left Behind. That was another one. Pupil-centered funding.
I completely agree, Trustee Brady.
So I'm going to piggyback on all of this because on Monday I had a legislative meeting with NASB and we talked about a lot of these similar things. Tom was there, Nicole was there, it was led by Rick. And we talked about how NAS and NASB are pretty much in line with their goals for the next legislative session on what they want to see, which I think is great because I don't think in the past they have seen that where you have your educators and the people that are doing the education and the running of the education and overseeing the education all on the same page. So you do have a little bit of that. If NAS and NASB, which is our school board, are on the same page, then we just need to get the educators also, those unions involved. Like, hey, this is going to help your students. It's going to help you as educators, and then get the community involved. But I think if we're showing that our superintendents and our school board representatives that are the elected officials from our community are on the same page, I think we're in that step in the right direction that you're looking for. But again, so NASB has met, it was March, and then in April, we were in Vegas. And like I said, I met on Monday with the legislative team. We went over what we talked about in March and in April, and we're working through all of these things and trying to be in alignment because everybody has the same concerns, which, is good and bad at the same time. Like, I wish we could do more in education for our students, but we have to fix this funding issue first before we can do better, do good, do more good, better good.
Do better.
Better good.
Better good. There we go. We need to go back to school. All right. Any other questions? All right. We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time. Seeing as there is none, we will close public comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the NAS Invest Resolution 2606.
I'll second that.
A motion by Ms. Miller, a second by Ms. Knighting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, on to board reports. Make it fast.
Did a lot of things.
We did a lot of things, right? All right. Ms. Knighting, would you like to start us off?
Sure. We heard from the Health Advisory Committee, which I go to each month. We just need to be sure that, as Sue brought up, there's some concerns with the, funding there, and that we're looking to 7-8% increase this year that can't come out of our general fund. Also, I attended many graduations, promotions, and ceremonies there. And I also went to CVMS for their sustainability projects, and it's always fun to hear their solutions to problems that they're seeing. So,
thank you. Ms. Miller?
Also went to a lot of promotion and graduations at the beginning of the month. I attended earlier this week Family Life Sex Ed. However, we didn't have enough quorum. So there is going to be some new education material that will be coming through that they're reviewing. So that will be in front of the board, I believe, at the August meeting. And then obviously I went to the NASB legislative session as well.
Mr. Zinke?
I only went to one promotion. I went to the Manili promotion as they are closed. So I felt that was an important one. Otherwise, everything else has been covered in the previous meeting.
Ms. Jackson?
I also attended several promotions, graduations, and just, yeah, I did go to the CC Manili Carnival, kindergarten graduation, 5th grade promotion. I just, a shout out to Blaine Spires and to the whole team. I think they did a great job with that. I think I cried like 5 times that day. So, but that they did a really great job with that. And it was really neat to see so many people in our community come out for that. People that had been the principal of the school or teachers in the school or attended the school. And so it was just kind of a really neat community event of in remembrance, and also attended with Chairman Smokey and the Washoe Tribal leadership as they went through. And I just, again, have to say how grateful I am that we have people that want to use that building. I helped pack up things at Scarcelli in their literacy library. And I just want to mention, I've met with and spoke to several parents, teachers, and staff about the current and the future consolidations. And there's a lot of things we need to learn from this one. And we need to be careful going forward that we're making the right decision as we consolidate future schools. So there's a lot of concern out there. And
I also attended the carnival, the graduation at George Patel High School, as well as Aspire. Today, Frankie and Yvonne and I went to the Tahoe Chamber and addressed the CEO roundtable. Oh, you were there too. You left early. I did. I apologize. Anyhow, Frankie presented elements of the pupil-centered funding plan, and I put out a call to arms that we need to get the business community behind this as well, not just the chamber in the valley, but also up at the lake. And Steve Teixeira is very big in governmental affairs, and we'll definitely work together with the chamber and Steve Teixeira and yourself to, champion the cause and get the word out.
I went to lots of graduations. I went to a carnival. I went to meetings. I just did a lot of things, and I think the school year ended in a very positive way. I felt like it was a good, as crazy as the year was and as many hard decisions as we as a district have had to make. I think all in all, it was good. Our schools were doing good. Our kids were doing good. And I think that's the most important thing. And I'm really grateful for that. So, all right.
All right. Thank you, President Wagstaff. So for my report here, I'll try to be brief and concise. I did attend negotiations with our negotiations team. I do want to extend gratitude to Mrs. Dwyer, our lead negotiator, as well as every other member of our team, as well as the DCPA, DCSSO, bus drivers, and also our administrative group and our meet and confer groups. I just want to say thank you for your compromise. It's really going to help us, correct and fix some structural budget issues. It's a temporary Band-Aid, but it gets us to the point where we can make the big changes and big fixes to put us in a good position going forward. I attended the CVMS NJHS ceremony. That was a proud moment for me as a dad. My son was inducted into that group, so it's a little selfish of me to attend there as well. I attended the Distinguished Employee Awards ceremony. What a great event that was. To honor our employees for all of their hard work. This was a unique night as we honored employees from last school year and this school year. Typically, this event is held in like September, but the district moved it towards the end of the year. I visited Julie Gillen's 7th grade science class for a frog dissection, and I can tell you these bullfrogs were gigantic. They're one was about 11 inches long and probably about 6 inches wide. The biggest bullfrog I've ever seen in my life. But I'll definitely share pictures with the board so you can see that activity. I can tell you not every kid was enthused. They cut into a bullfrog, but there were some kids that really got down into the bullfrog and were learning about all of the systems. And they did have a visiting general doctor that came in to kind of explain those things and how he got into, the medical field and how the same systems, how you can identify systems within a bullfrog and how those systems compare to the human system. I had multiple conversations with Ron Alling to continue to collaborate about a potential partnership for Boys and Girls Club up at Zephyr Cove Elementary School. He's currently working on a presentation. He will come to our July board meeting and deliver that presentation. And currently we're vetting, or Terry has vetted a lease agreement, an MOU that will be attached for the board to make a decision after that presentation at that meeting. So attended a partnership meeting with DCPA leadership. Definitely want to thank them. You're right, this has been a difficult year, and their leadership has experienced a difficult year as well. So I always appreciate meeting with them, hearing about potential grievances, any issues, so we can get ahead of it and try to solve it before it becomes a major problem. Had the opportunity to work the barbecue here at the airport facility and barbecue lunch for our bus drivers, facility workers, maintenance, and custodial staff. That was a fun event, to honor them at the end of the year. They're doing a lot of moving logistics right now, and they're just working hard every single day. Just like Heather and Melinda packing up the literacy library at SES, I went out there and visited with some teachers. I helped Cynthia Patmont, their art teacher, pack up the hydroponics set. We took it outside, washed it up, reset it back up for next school year. So that's all ready to go for kids, and checked in on their carpet repair. They do have 3 classrooms that are complete, 2 more classrooms to go. And then they have to do all of the hallways. And then at that point, all the classrooms can be set up after that. So things are moving over at Scarcelli. Attended many promotions and graduations, so Pinion Kinder promotion, Zephyr 5th grade, George Whittle 8th grade, CC Manili Farewell Tunnel, which was a fun experience, Pawalu's 8th grade, CVMS's 8th grade, Aspire High School, Whittle High School, Douglas, and also Adult Ed, and also our High Set Achievers, which is always great to honor your Adult Ed and High Set Achievers. Terry and I attended our first Fiscal Watch meeting and set a schedule for every Fiscal Watch meeting moving forward. Tomorrow is our next Fiscal Watch. Terry has already submitted documents to Kelly since you guys approved them. She already fired that email off, and they have those documents ready to review tomorrow morning. Attended the NAS Academy with our cabinet leadership team. Had a quality collaboration time to talk about, our focus, the work that we have ahead of us, and really team building, which is the most important thing. And then the cabinet team and I today planned our forum leadership welcome back. So we're all set, ready to go for our welcome back at the end of July for all of our leaders here. You already know I did the CCMES tour with the Washoe Tribe. And then the Tahoe Chamber meeting this morning was already mentioned. So that sums up my report. We have a Fiscal Watch meeting tomorrow at 9. I will add the board to the invite. So if you want to attend, you're welcome to, but there's no obligation.
It's just where they just meet with like 2 people from it. It's not the whole board.
Yeah, it's not the CLGF.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move
Sorry.
into the next item, informational items. Patrick Schmidt donated a 2005 Jeep Liberty valued at $800 to DHS Automotive Program. Tammy Anderson of MCA Mechanical Incorporated donated goods and services valued at $1,231.65 to the DHS Welding Program. And then looking at the monthly update of enrollment counts. So this document comes from our AGPM department. I agree, it is a little bit confusing. In attendance here and at Nevada Department of Education is complex. For some reason, we have turned this situation into rocket science. So I just want to shed light on why it's complex. So there's certain groups of students we don't receive funding for. So when you look at this report, at the start of the year, we had 4,745 students. Well, NDE only certified 4,667 students in which we would receive funding. So we received funding for 78 less students. It depends. So if they're a general education pre-K student, we don't receive funding for them, but we do receive funding for inclusive education pre-K students. So, or the other students that are in this group could be the students attending with us through Alpine tuition agreements. So there's just these weird little things. And so in order to correct this, Terry and I have already discussed this. You know, when we have a monthly budget report that comes onto the agenda, we're going to attach the enrollment that we're funded on. And then show the board what the variance is. So we already have plans to correct it, you know, but that's going to happen as we come back into the school year and kids return to us. And that concludes it. We do have future board agenda items.
Oh, yes, Ms. Jackson.
Sorry, just on the numbers here, does this also have the problem where, like, if a kid goes over to CVMS for band and goes to Binion, they're counted twice? Is that
Yes.
part of this also?
Yeah, so we have to duly enroll our fifth graders when they go over to the middle schools for band in order for them to get a breakfast. You know, if they are not able to get a breakfast at the middle school and eat that breakfast en route to their elementaries, now they're going to be held up when they return to their elementaries to eat breakfast and lose important instructional time. So then they're duly enrolled. So that report does capture that as well. Yeah.
Did you have something?
Future agenda items.
No, it's if they're not enrolled, then they can't go get breakfast if they want breakfast.
Yeah.
All right. So any other questions? Okay. All right. On to future agenda items. Does anyone have anything that they would like to have on a future agenda?
Do we know if Washoe this week? I know there was a meeting. I know there was a lot that they talked about with capital improvements.
Oh,
that
yeah,
I,
we're waiting on lacrosse.
yeah, we're still waiting on lacrosse.
Yeah, I will reach out to their new superintendent, Tiffany McMaster, and ask, you know, when they anticipate approving lacrosse.
Okay.
But we will not bring an item to the board
Until
the meeting after they
That makes
approve
sense.
it. They are our only competitors locally.
Right.
We cannot bear the expense to send students across the state, you know, to compete in the sport.
Yeah, no, out of, I think it's the 12 Northern Nevada teams, 8 are in Washoe County, and that includes Bishop Minogue. So we have to really watch what they're doing in regards to that. It's just, I know that deadline to add to the schedule is January 15th, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done before that.
Yes.
Anything else, Ms. Jackson?
I had emailed or asked about putting something on the agenda about was it YouTube? And access to different things on the kids' computers. So I just don't know if that got onto the list of future agenda items. So I just wanted to and it doesn't, you know, but I guess if we could figure something out before school starts in the fall.
Yeah, so next month, Jared mentioned this previously for the DTS item. We're going to have an overview of the IT department and how it's transformed, I guess, in 1 year. We did reduce a large number of staff there. And then we've had multiple purchases and obviously a new agreement tonight. So Jared will cover all of those things and then also incorporate exactly what you requested, right? Looking at YouTube, those restrictions. And then there's also that LineWise parent portal that we haven't pursued yet. So he'll cover those items as well because I believe the board, at least 1 or 2 board members have talked to me about parent controls.
Yep. Anything else? All right. And that concludes our meeting. Meeting adjourned.